emergency time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to foot.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Sunday evening edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobler, of course.
Hello.
So I know the question on all of your minds tonight is, do I ever get tired of winning? Keaton, do you ever get tired of winning? And it's a good question, because there are times when, honestly, I do. There are times when, honestly, I say, this is exhausting. I could use a few days off from winning. But there are times when I don't. And tonight is one of those times, because this has been a long time coming. As soon as John King, after the debate on the 27th, said there's panic inside the Democratic Party, I was like, yep, Joe Biden is not long for this race. And everything else was bullshit. All the, we're into it nonsense. That's until they figure shit out. You cannot run a race under those circumstances. And he's gone, but we're going to get to that. Russell, you had a nice day at sea today.
I am just relieved we don't have to hire Miss Cleo.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because if he had been wrong, we were talking to Miss Cleo.
Yes, that's right.
We're going to have a segment like on Network where you have a, prediction with the scales and
that's right.
Blindfolds, yeah. So we don't have to do that now.
Russ, were you at sea when the news broke? Because when the Trump shooting happened, you were at sea.
I was at sea. No. I was back at my building already when you called me. I was literally starting to walk up my front stoop. And I assume it happened right then.
So what we mean by at sea is Russell got his kayak certification.
I got my kayak certification. Now I am so people got confused about what this means. All it means is you don't need certification to kayak. Obviously, you could just throw a kayak in the water. There are no laws or regulations, but it means I can go on more advanced trips with this company.
There you go.
That's what that is.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. Excellent work. Super Chats.
It was crazy being out because for the third class, the earlier ones, you're in a little artificial inlet next to the Intrepid aircraft carrier museum. For the last class, you actually go out into the Hudson.
Yeah, into the river. Yeah, sure.
That is crazy, man. That is crazy because it's, the Hudson is notoriously rough.
Yes.
So, you're kind of doing this. You're like, am I going to go over? Am I? But I did not.
Well done. Well done. Round of applause for Jake in the booth tonight. Jake is fielding Rumble rants. We got Super Chats coming in already. Thank you guys all for sending those over. We do have the Q&A tonight. It is Sunday night, and so we are doing a question and answer after the main show on Rumble. Paid members have call-in access. We are doing a patron show this week. We have not nailed down the time exactly yet. We apologize for the delay. It's just Amanda could go into labor any moment now, so it's a little tough to plan. But it'll be this week sometime.
Could be during the show.
Maybe even during the show. That's right.
Yeah. We got Tusker on standby.
We do have Tusker on standby. Yes. So we will probably have an announcement. It probably will not be tomorrow. It'll probably be after the Tuesday show. So we'll announce that on the Tuesday show, the next patron show. But the Q&A is tonight. And yes, Tusker is on standby tonight. She's on call. Thanks for being on call, Tusker. This will certainly be my last Sunday night show in the driver's seat for a while. I plan on checking in, sitting in, doing the pop-in. Hey, I'll do the pop-in when I can do the pop-in. But if my third child does not come before the 26th, that is when we are going to induce labor on advisement from the people who we trust throughout this process. My wife is 37. She's that makes her moderate to high risk, and so they don't want you to go too far past the due date if you're in that pool. So that's the plan. So unless he comes now or tomorrow, and even if he does, because Sunday nights are going to be hard for me to sit in the driver's seat, Tusker will be co-hosting Sundays for the time being, starting next week. So round of applause for Tusker. That'll be fun.
Going to be all communism and Disney.
Yeah, there you go. We actually bumped a couple of Disney segments. We had a couple of really strong Disney segments. One is a Free Palestine Disney segment, and one is a labor-oriented Disney segment that we pumped into Tuesday's show because some big news happened.
Little news today.
Yeah, little news broke. We were kind of looking forward to doing a different kind of show where, like, we were looking at the lineup. We're like, this is a pretty well-rounded show, got a little of everything here. But, of course, Joe Biden has dropped out. So let's start the insanity. Joe Biden, President Joe Biden, today at 1:46 p.m., tweeted the following. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. Yeah, we've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering prescription drug costs for seniors and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. That deserves a Rappaport drop there. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intent to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work, and let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Signed, Joe Biden. Now, absent from that initial announcement,
he died.
Yeah, right. Absent from that initial announcement, of course, was an endorsement of Kamala Harris, which raised some eyebrows at first, but it was forthcoming at 2:13.
So Halpern got that part wrong.
Yes, Halpern did get that part wrong. Mark Halpern said on Friday, or on Thursday rather, that Joe Biden would be stepping down as the nominee by Sunday, likely Sunday, which he was correct about. But he did say he would not endorse Kamala Harris, and the written statement did not endorse Kamala Harris. Maybe he forgot that because about 17 minutes later, he tweets out, "My fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. It almost was a good enough decision to keep me as the nominee, but I got forced out anyway. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. So there you have
God
it.
help us all. I've spotted my first "I'm with her" laid over a picture of Kamala.
Well, there you go. It has begun. Joe Biden withdraws from the race and endorses Kamala Harris. And I know I said this earlier in the stream, but I got to say this for the clip. You know, last year when we did our prediction show, I predicted this just out of intuition. I just couldn't see Joe Biden's name.
Everything is proceeding as I have foreseen.
Exactly. I couldn't see it. I could not envision a future with Joe Biden's name on the ballot. Again, partly because of the state he was in and the just hunch that it would get worse to the point where he would have to step down. And after the debate, as soon as you saw that roundtable of John King saying, you know, there's panic in the party, Chuck Todd, the people are calling me and saying, you know, he's got to get out. That means your days are numbered. There's only so much pressure you can withstand. And I also predicted, I'm sorry to keep patting myself on the back, but there's the old saying, if you're not for yourself, who will be? If you're only for yourself, who are you? If you're not for yourself, who will be?
I'm for you, Keaton.
Yeah, that's right. Russell's for me. But the other part of this that I think I predicted was that it would take the top brass to get him out. I think originally you saw the names like Schumer, Pelosi, Schiff, Obama staying silent because they didn't really want to have to go on record saying that he's not fit, because on the off chance that he was just so stubborn a prick that he didn't get out, then that would be sounds that the Republicans could play on a loop till November. Obama says Biden's not fit. Schumer says Biden's not fit. So unfortunately, from their point of view, it did come to that. The foot soldiers, the lightweights in the party were not enough to convince Joe Biden he had to step aside, but they were. He could not withstand that kind of pressure from the upper crust of the Democratic Party, because once they go on record against you, the funding dries up. I mean, you literally can't run a campaign for free. You can't put ads together. You can't put events together. You can't do anything without money. And when the leadership voices a vote of no confidence against you, the money dries up. And once that happens, you simply cannot will your way through the campaign. You can't do it. And he knows that. And so he gave in.
Yeah, he's such an incredible asshole. He's at his core. There was a possibility that he would force them to have a choice. Support my candidacy, or, you know, you have no candidate this year.
Well,
but
he almost did that.
He didn't
he
go
bluffed
that
like
way.
he was going to. He bluffed like he was going to be on the trail this week. He said, I intend to hit the trail this week. So he bluffed. He tried. He gave it. He ran to that last inch of runway. Yeah.
Right. And he got his shills in different voting communities to talk about the way their choice was being removed. He tried to hide. I mean, look, he's been a Democrat for a long time. He knows how Democrats operate. When you're in a tough spot, grab some black and brown people and throw them out as cannon fodder to push forward your project. So he did that. That was one of his final gambits too. You had the Latino caucus coming out and saying, this is removing our choice, which, you know, not a bad play. Not a bad play. If there's anything that's going to scare the Kente cloth people, it's going to be stuff like that. But not enough, because they got Barack.
That's right.
What are you going to say?
Exactly. He is the boss. He is the Don. Now, there was some speculation that Hillary Clinton was angling for a run, and it was always just speculation.
Yeah, I never took it seriously.
Although
they
the
love
one
stories
thing,
like that's clickbait.
Of course. But the one thing that did make me think maybe she is angling to run is that Hillary and Bill were the last holdouts for Joe Biden. They said to the bitter end, no, we're with Joe. And then when he dropped out, the thought occurred to me, because if there are two people as scummy and as Machiavellian as to play it this way, it's those two. Did Bill and Hillary stick with Biden to the end in the hopes that he might throw some of his weight in her direction? But that was not to be, because Biden endorsed Kamala, and now Bill and Hillary Clinton, endorsed Kamala Harris in this text. We are certainly not going to waste precious time reading that. Barack Obama comes out. Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and partner to be. Today, we've also been reminded again that he's a patriot of the highest order. Here's my full statements. Okay, so we're not going to read his full statement either, but we will read a piece from his Medium post, which nothing says Obama. It is so fitting that Obama is on Medium because nothing screams Obama era like Medium. You know, it's like that was popular in 2013. Nobody's used it.
They are so desperate to get your $5 a month, and nobody bites.
Yeah, exactly. Like nobody uses it except him anymore. But what's notable about his statement here, we will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. I believe that Joe Biden's vision of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the Democratic Convention in August.
Wow.
And I expect that every single one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress forward into November and beyond. For now, Michelle and I just want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably and courageously during these perilous times. And for their well, what made them such perilous times? Joe did. Joe made them. I mean, that's why we're in perilous times. Why is there a genocide in Gaza? Why is there war in Eastern Europe? I mean, he created the perilous times. And for their commitment,
he's been by my side from the beginning. I said to my team, for this country to elect a black man, I'm going to have to run with a cracker. Find me the biggest cracker-ass cracker in the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
and they came up with Joe Biden.
And for their commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality that this country was founded on. So there's Barack Obama notably not endorsing Kamala Harris. The only big name really not to jump out and endorse Harris. Kamala Harris confirms she is ready and willing to, take the reins here. On behalf of the American people, I thank Joe Biden for his extraordinary leadership as President of the United States and for his decades of service to our country. I am honored to have the President's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. So she is running.
Look, to paraphrase Les Moonves, the former president of CBS, a Trump-Harris race is bad for the country, but it's very good for podcasters.
That is true.
Run, baby, run. The only thing that could make this better would be if her and Buttigieg got into a bitch fight.
Yeah, right, exactly. But that's not going to happen. He's not going to challenge her.
No, nobody's going to. No.
Nobody of any note
if you fracture the party's unity, you're going to be persona non grata going forward. No, these people have long memories. Elizabeth Warren is still trying to get a job as head of maintenance at the White House.
Yes. It looks very much like it's going to be her. Donald Trump weighed in. Crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve, and never was. He only attained the position of president by lies, fake news, and not leaving his basement. All those around him, including his doctor and the media, knew that he wasn't capable of being president, and he wasn't. And now look what he's done to our country, with millions of people coming across our border, totally unchecked and unvetted, many from prisons, mental institutions, and record numbers of terrorists. We will suffer greatly because of his presidency, but we will remedy the damage he has done very quickly. Make America great again. So there's the opponents.
We're going to fix it so fast. Believe me, people are not going to believe how fast we're going to fix it.
You're not going to believe how fast we fixed this. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be fantastic.
People are going to say they've never seen anything like it.
That's right. And then the last piece of this segment here, just a funny little nugget of information. Biden's announcement stunned White House and campaign aides who up until this afternoon were insisting he'd stay in the race. We're all finding out by tweet, said one Dem. None of us understand what's happening.
Well, that is fitting, isn't it?
Yep. blindsided. They should have taken Mark Halperin's reporting seriously. So Mark Halperin reported on Thursday, in advance of Donald Trump's speech, that he had it from reliable sources that Biden would be dropping out over the weekend, probably Sunday, which ended up being right. He said that John Meacham was crafting a speech, which Meacham then denied. We don't know if Meacham had a hand in writing that letter. My guess is he probably did, since that seems like the thing that he would do. If you write the speeches, you would write that as a written statement. But
Come on,
the
John,
only thing
throw me a bone. This is my not a molester anymore big moment.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. But the only bit of information that he got wrong there was that Biden had no plans to endorse Harris, and that ended up happening. But aside from that, he had it right, and people called him a liar. The people who called him a liar were apparently lying themselves. And I always thought there was a chance that was the case, because, as I said, you don't go from we're running to, well, maybe not, to we're not running. You go from we're running to never mind, we're not running. Because the maybe phase is an admission that you're not running. You can't run a campaign. You can't take donations saying, yeah, maybe we're going to drop out. Right? And so it was going to be, we're all in, no matter what anybody says. Anybody who says differently, we're going to just say they're lying, they're full of shit. Deny, until you come out and say, actually, they were right, and we're out. And that's what he did, and that's where you're at. So now you are in a situation, and we're going to do a full segment later in the show about what might come next. But you are in interesting times now, my friends. Interesting times.
All right, let's do some housekeeping. And in the year 2525, we've been a little busy this week preparing for interviews and working on videos, so we will put in a 3,000 sound drop soon. We will soon, indeed. But that is the state of the race. Joe Biden outs. Quite the remarkable thing, especially since Kamala Harris seems poised to take the reins, and this is the third Democratic primary in a row that has been a complete and total sham. Now, it is, of course, a matter of standard course for the incumbent to basically have the option of running again, and when the incumbent decides to seek re-election, there is never much of a primary. But in this case, what happened? Again, exactly what I said was going to happen. They're going to keep him on through the primary calendar so that their voters do not have a say in who the next nominee is. And now the voters do not have a say. This now goes to the delegates who have already pledged to Joe Biden. They are now released to vote for whoever they want, asterisk, whoever gathers enough signatures among the delegates to submit themselves for nomination. Who do you think Biden delegates are going to be inclined to vote for? Yeah, there's not going to be a contest here. There's not going to be a contest. Yeah. They were talking about a mini primary. Yeah, that's not going to happen because now the establishment always wanted Kamala. They always wanted her. They were so it was never supposed to be Biden in 2020. It was supposed to be her. That's right. This really shows you how little say people have. They started talking about Kamala as soon as Hillary lost. They started floating her. They made it clear she was the establishment pick. So completely lacking in political skills, she had to drop out before New Hampshire because she was what, in fourth place in California in her home state. She was polling fifth. Behind Yang, yeah. She was polling fifth. But hey, man, they just went and made her vice president with a guy with one foot in the grave, made her the heir apparent, and now they get what they want anyway. I don't think they'll get the presidency part, but they pushed her pretty far for somebody who's, so creepy you would not let her give your kids candy. It's pretty good to have her running for president when the entire public emphatically had no interest in that. Yeah, they maneuvered her to the nomination, which was their intention in 2020. Fuck you, peasants. Now they got their wish. What do you think? You have a say? You think you have a say? We want Kamala, and we shall have Kamala. You will have Kamala.
Exactly. Party of democracy, everybody. Party of democracy. Remember to save democracy this November.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mark your calendar.
Might I once again suggest my perennial candidate, Dave Chappelle?
There you go.
As far as I know, I'm the only one in New York State who votes for him every 4 years. So if you want to join up, let me know. I'm starting a website, Chappelle for President.
Nice. With a pack and everything.
Yep, with a pack.
GHU81, thanks for the Rumble rant. Regarding Jewish erasure from that article regarding MCU, Magneto is a Holocaust survivor. Moon Knight, which is on Disney Plus, is Jewish that lived in a Brooklyn Jewish neighborhood, and Dad is a rabbi. Interesting. I didn't know about Moon Knight.
They were saying, I did watch the Moon Knight series. I guess in the comics they made him Jewish. I think that's after my time. Moon Knight was around when I was a kid reading comics. I don't think he was Jewish then. Maybe they made him Jewish later. I think they were saying they stripped that out of the comic. I don't know. But actually, now that you brought it up, I have two corrections from that segment. One, the Sabra camp was not in the West Bank. It was in Lebanon. It was actually a Palestinian refugee camp where the massacre took place in 1982. And I misspoke. I cited the publisher, Simon & Schuster, as the creators of Superman rather than Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, the actual creators of Superman.
All right. Also, all the truth tellers beware. There are now Zionists spreading misinfo as we got into a back and forth on Captain America, and that user was saying Palestinians in Israel live great and ICJ wrong. We will get to the ICJ stuff. We will get to the ICJ stuff later in the show for sure. Historic Kamala Harris will be the first African-American woman to lose to Donald Trump in a presidential election.
It's too bad. We had Lee Fong for very limited time, but he's done a lot of great reporting on Kamala Harris. Maybe we'll do something on those articles in the coming week or weeks. But he's done some great reporting about how her predecessor as DA in San Francisco was making case files available to victims of the Catholic Church, and she shut that down as soon as she got elected. She stopped making those files available to victims, stopped pursuing those cases. He talks about how she claimed to be promoting environmental justice, being the first DA to ever promote environmental justice. Total bullshit. Like, they're fining like small newspapers for dumping their ink and leaving the big corporate players that are really doing the pollution completely untouched. What you'd expect if you've really looked at Kamala over the last few years. But Fong has done some of the best reporting on some stories that are not as well known as
well, is the thing. I mean,
keeping prisoners so that they can fight fires.
I mean, she'll be vetted now in a way that she really wasn't when she ran for president, because she never ranked high enough to be really worth vetting in that way. Alan Sapinski headed to D.C. via White Caps to mediate the transition from Kamala to Hillary, the queen that was promised. I don't think that is going to happen, but you never know. You never know. Every subreddit, thank you for 30 milligrams, is saying Kamala will destroy Trump in a debate and that he should be scared of her. They are brain dead. Yeah. It's going to be something.
Okay, this is what I will say. Oh, we always want to be honest. Okay, when she is, it is my belief that Kamala is a sociopath. Not in just the normal way that people in Washington are. I believe a lot of her inappropriate affect are symptoms of sociopathy. People who are sociopathic, very often their emotional cues will be off because they don't quite understand normal human behavior. So that has long been my theory about her. However, when she is very well prepared, she can be effective. So in a debate setting where she's rehearsed all her lines and she doesn't have to actually show you the reptilian creature underneath that she is, if she has very well-crafted moments like the little girl was me, she could be effective in a debate with Trump. As we know, as many people were eager to point out, apropos of nothing in this particular case, debates generally don't matter. They matter when the candidates' brains are leaking out their ears. This particular debate mattered.
Yes.
But do I think she might do well? Yeah, she might in a debate. She might. The only thing that's going to mess her up is Trump is so unpredictable. It's going to be hard for her to stay on script.
I mean, we'll see. Trump already is suggesting that Fox host the debate instead of ABC. I'm surprised he agreed to one already. But I guess with a new candidate, there's increased pressure. Like if it was Biden, he would have never agreed to debate Joe Biden again. Now that it's Kamala, there is a strong possibility that he will. Pat Donahue, thanks for the €5. Van Jones, near tears for Joe Biden on CNN, reminded me of Samuel L. Jackson's character in Django when his master falls. Pathetic. We are going to cover that tonight. I am looking forward.
You are not the only one whose mind went in similar directions. I am advised by my esteemed colleague to avoid that line of discussion.
I'm looking forward to seeing Vice President Trump battle it out with former President Trump. Not good, believe me, not good. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Barry, thank you for that. Laugh, with 90% of legacy and social media behind Kamala, Kamala could win. She's not Trump, but I hear donors say, here comes Hillary. Who's saying that? Are we seeing reports that that's what they're saying? I don't think
they love that clickbait, man. They love that clickbait.
I really don't think so. I really don't think that is a strong possibility. Anything can happen, but I think that's unlikely. What can be rigged, unburdened by what was democracy? Calcula 2024. Thank you.
I mean, Cackle and Kamala, he's got that already. It's pretty good.
Yes, that's right. He's got that one already. That is a good nickname. Miss Cleo says Russell is not the father. Thank you. Robin. Okay, here we go. Barbara Howard, Keaton, I love your shirt. Free Palestine. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate that. Best Boomer Vita, $99.99. Let's do it. What are your thoughts? Thank you. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that. What are your thoughts on Whitney Webb's interview on Jimmy Dore regarding J.D. Vance? I saw most of it. I don't think I saw the entire thing, but I saw almost the entire thing. And yeah, I liked what I saw. I thought it was great. I think she's very good. We should try to have her on sometime soon. She was very strong.
I actually talked to Jimmy about that interview. Her corpus is so vast. That is the only reason, on my end, I don't know about you. On my end, I have not pushed to have her on because I feel like it's a lot of information to absorb. His advice is basically, don't worry about that, what she's reporting at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just whatever is current. I think that it was a good interview. And I think that, Elon pledging $45 million, I don't know if there was any, I don't think there was any communication beforehand, but I think the fact that Vance is the VP probably, made some impact on Elon. I think Elon's very happy with that pick. And what she says about that does make a great deal of sense, in my opinion. So, yeah, I thought she was very good.
We will invite her on soon, now that we're doing an interview series.
Russell's grandmother there looks sweet in that kayak helmet. Thank you. They are starting a boycott of Adidas campaign for caving to Zionists to have Hadid fired.
Yeah, I saw that.
Adidas looked based for a minute, and I was going to say, because I wore an Adidas hat on one of the patron streams, and the patrons were like, hey, is that cool to wear? And I said, yeah, I think so. And then I was like, when they hired her, I was like, yeah, that means they're cool, right? They're not one of the bad. And then they caved, so now they're one of the bad ones again. So yeah, back where I started with that. Head writer of Liberal Kafabi, Aaron Sorkin, tells the liberals that they should nominate Mitt Romney. At the moment, he would script for Democrats. Sorkin is the Vince McMahon of shit liberty. It's funny.
Somebody who's a big fan of the show I've known for a long time sent that to me. I didn't have time to read it.
Well, I tweeted out something about that right at the moment that Biden dropped out. Like, as soon as I hit tweet, once I tweeted that, I saw the next tweet in the feed.
Hang
was
on,
that
so
he had dropped
you
out.
actually read it?
I read enough of it to know what he was talking about. His suggestion that Mitt Romney, be the nominee, which would have been a good topic for tonight, but now obviously that is moot. Hey, look at Michael Castillo. $200. Thank you, Michael. That's extremely generous of you. Thank you very much.
We got a baller here.
Here's to Keaton Weiss and his family. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you, my friend. Appreciate that. Oh, so much. Thank you. Okay. As we know, Joe Biden has dropped out of the 2024 race, and there are some responses that I find worth showcasing here. Some good, some bad, some based, some cringe. We're going to run kind of the whole gamut here. We're going to start with our friend Jimmy Dore, who, by the way, thanks to Jimmy Dore for opening up the show this evening. Thanks for warming up the crowd for us. I know you went live a little while ago. Appreciate that very much.
Oh, he went live?
Yeah, he went live. Well, warm up. He's a great warm up act for us.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
So thanks for that.
I really like his prop comedy.
Right, loosens everybody up.
Close up magic.
Yeah, exactly. Feels like this was the party's plan all along, which is why they didn't allow any debates or a real primary, and why they had to make sure they forced RFK out of the primary, because he would be next in line for the nomination in this situation. Doing it this way, only loyal establishment party delegates would be selected for the convention, so when the party finally forced Biden out, they would have only establishment loyal delegates to choose the new nominee, assuring an establishment nominee. So the Democrats rigged another primary, which makes that 3 in a row from the party who says that democracy is on the ballot. LOL. Once again, the Democratic Party doesn't have elections. They have a C-election for the presidential nominee, and you're just going to have to take it. Yes.
Yep.
No lies.
Well, there you go. They wanted Kamala 8 years ago, and even though she's terrible, they got her.
They got her. They figured out a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Jill Stein has a similar thought. Joe Biden had been removed from power by the same anti-democratic forces that rigged the field for him in 2020 and skipped the primary to anoint him in 2024. Don't be fooled.
Bitch, mofo.
That's right. Don't be fooled. The same DNC elites that put him in power will replace him with another tool for Wall Street and the war machine. We will continue to fight oligarchy, empire, and genocide like our lives depend on it, because, in fact, they do. All right. You can't get on the ballot in New York like your lives depend on it, but, well, whatever. I mean, it's a good sentiment there. Good sentiment there. And you'd think maybe Bernie Sanders, the guy who was on the receiving end of that rigging, might have a similar thing to say. Oh, no. Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden has served our country with honor and dignity. As the first president to ever walk on a picket line with striking workers, he has been the most pro-working class president in modern American history. Thank you, Mr. President, for all you've done. Gavin Newsom. What did Newsom say? Biden is our nominee, Biden is our nominee, Biden is our nominee, on and on and on until he's not. President Biden has been an extraordinary, history-making president, a leader who has fought hard for working people and delivered astonishing results for all Americans. He will go down in history as one of the most impactful and selfless presidents. Thank you, Joe Biden. Only took him 3.5 weeks before he fell asleep on a debate stage to finally be forced out of the race. And you know what?
Selfless.
That's time you don't get back. You can't put that time on the clock, right?
Yep.
I mean, you cost your party a month.
Okay, so what's gonna be fun is when Kamala loses and they start writing the op-eds about how Joe Biden should have dropped out sooner. No. They're going to say he should have dropped out sooner. They're going to turn on him.
I don't know, man. I think they're going to say he should have stayed in.
Well, I think you'll have that take too. But that's a hard take, man, because he's mentally incompetent. Like, how do you make that case? Oh yeah, we should have run the guy with Parkinson's and dementia. That would have been the way to go. But they'll never admit that they are in any way responsible for their own failures. I think once you start to have a couple of those articles, Biden knew his condition, the floodgates are going to open.
Possible. Ilhan Omar. Thank you, Mr. President. This was the president's decision to make, and I'm grateful for his years of service to our country. Thrilled to support Kamala Harris as our Democratic nominee and remain committed to working alongside her to defeat Donald Trump in November. So she's on board for Kamala. That's another endorsement from Ilhan Omar.
Wow.
Jamal Bowman apparently didn't get the memo that the party hates him and kicked him out. Now that President Biden has suspended his campaign, Vice President Kamala Harris is the most qualified and best choice to lead us forward. I don't know what you mean by us, since you've been forced
they'll
out.
give him a job leading the kitchen staff or something, and a
Fire safety chief.
Harris administration, yeah. Fire safety, perfect for that.
Now, some of the real dug-in Biden people didn't take this so well. Chris D. Jackson, I hope all of you anti-Biden people are happy. You just forced the best president of our lifetimes off the ticket. What happens now is all on you.
Even better than Saint Obama, huh? Wow.
Well, this is what I'm telling you, how there are going to be some people when Harris loses who are going to say, see, you should have stuck with Joe Biden. Yep.
Those people. But I think the punditocracy is more likely to go with it's time we had an honest conversation about Joe Biden and the people on his staff who knew his condition. What would we have been able to do if Joe Biden had decided not to run for a second term and we had a real primary?
Well, that, sure. I'm talking about post-debate. Like, yeah, that you might see some second guessing as to he should not have run at all, and there should have been an open primary. Now, realistically, Democrat voters are sheep. I say that. In an open primary, Kamala had the edge because of who she is, because she's the vice president. A lot of money would have been, behind her. Biden, you would assume, would have backed her. And so it would have been tough to unseat her anyway. Somebody would have gotten close, and then they would have rigged it against them, and then we'd be here, oh, we were this close, we had it, and they stole it, blah, blah, blah. That's what would have happened.
I mean, not necessarily in terms of that, because they don't give a shit if Gretchen Whitmer or Gavin Newsom wins. They don't care.
Yeah, but I don't know.
It's not like Bernie, who they considered an existential threat to their way of doing business. Wrongly, I think, in hindsight, but that was how they saw it.
Yeah,
maybe. You cost these people 2 grains of rice, they can't sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Tristan Snell, I would be furious right now, and maybe I will be later, but there's no time for that. There are 106 days until the election. We need every ounce of our energy to be focused on defeating Donald Trump. It's go time.
We are dozens. Dozens!
This is one of my favorites, before and after tweets. So, hold the line. We got this, says Brooklyn Dad Defiant. That was at 12:58 p.m., so that was about an hour before Biden dropped down. And then his first tweet after, 2:52. Damn. That's. Harry Sisson, growing up, he took the news well. He still got his gig. He's got nothing to worry about. He's good. He's all good. Joe Biden will go down in history as an American hero, a selfless politician and leader who put the country before himself every single time, which is the complete opposite of Donald Trump.
Except for this time.
Yeah, except for this one time. We, the American people, owe him our gratitude and appreciation. Well, he'll fit right in. I'm sure he'll do the TikToks for Kamala and everything, so he's really got nothing to worry about. So, he was much more mature than the Brooklyn Dad, much more mature than Chris Jackson or Tristan Snell.
His bread is still buttered.
His bread is still buttered, man. Took it well. All right, now we're going to get into the based takes. These are the based takes. Saul Williams. I ain't reading all that. Free Palestine. The great Saul Williams, by the way. Saul Williams, this just happened to come up, like one of the first responses I read. But this is the Saul Williams. How many in the chat know who Saul Williams is? Rapper, performance artist, poet, actor. He was in a Broadway play, like a hip-hop musical a few years ago. But I know Saul Williams because Saul Williams went to my elementary school. He's a Newburgh guy. And,
really?
Yeah. And when his movie came out, Slam, which came out of Sundance, that was a huge deal at our elementary school. Posters everywhere, even though nobody at the school was allowed to watch it, since that was, to put it mildly, not a kid's movie. But Saul Williams, good people. I would expect nothing different from him. I ain't reading all that. Free Palestine. Yes. Well done. Owen Jones. Joe Biden has the blood of tens of thousands of Palestinians on his hands. Israel would never have been able to raise Gaza to the ground without him. I'm a non-believer, but if hell exists, that man would have a first-class ticket there. A monster who belongs in jail. Ooh,
you go,
hot.
Owen.
Hot.
You go, Owen.
Low-key, genocide Joe Biden stands down. Gaza will live long after him. Amen. Aaron Mate. If we valued human life, he would have been forced out for enabling Israel's mass murder and starvation campaign in Gaza, not to mention provoking and prolonging a proxy war against Russia in Ukraine that's cost hundreds of thousands of lives. But we only value money, and his moneyed faction decided that he was no longer a reliable investment. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Once the leadership turns on you, the money dries up and you can't run a campaign without it, and that is what forced him out. And just to show you how far he has fallen.
And this should, I'm sorry, but even if you are blue MAGA, this should be really instructive for you in regards to who controls your politics.
Yes.
Did you miss that? Did you miss that? He got pushed out by the donors. The donors said, we're not paying anymore. So what are you doing with these primaries and everything? Why don't you just let that? They said in open court, we're a private organization. We don't have to follow any rules. We could go to a back room and pick the candidate. Why don't you let them? Why don't you let them? Because that's what they do anyway. Like, why waste your time volunteering and donating and talking about this nonsense as if you have some kind of say over the way this party is run, or indeed over the way your government is run?
Well, why even voice an opinion?
Why do you even get involved? You just saw what happened. The money people decide. You don't decide.
Right. You don't decide. So why voice an opinion? Why go on social media? Oh, I'm with Joe.
Right.
Oh, I love Joe, but Joe has to go. They don't care. They're not listening to what you have to say.
Right.
They listen to what Ari Emanuel has to say. They listen to what the heir to the Disney Corporation has to say, because they're the ones who write the checks for hundreds of thousands of dollars at a clip to their super PACs. Those people they listen to, they don't listen to you. I don't care whether you like Joe or you want him to swap out. And no matter which path they chose, these blue MAGA people would follow them anyway. So that's all the more reason where even if this were an above board process, not totally controlled by money, they still wouldn't give a shit what you have to say because they know you're going to follow them wherever you go.
Yeah, why not just drop the farce?
Right.
It's an enormous waste of time and money. I mean, I guess the consultants want it to keep going. That's how they get paid.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You've fallen far, Joe Biden, when Crystal Ball started this cycle, making a proactive case for you, and here she is. All the Joe Biden is a great man bullshit is truly sickening.
Thank you.
He dedicated, hey, maybe we should have her on. He dedicated himself to the mass slaughter of children in Gaza.
With Kyle.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. And if there is a shred of justice in this world, that will be the remembered legacy of his administration. We should also not forget that Biden and his cronies perpetrated a mass cover-up of his precipitous decline, and this betrayal made it far more likely that Trump once again wins the presidency. His domestic policy achievements pale in comparison to these realities. So there's a little bit of clarity from Crystal Ball.
All right, Crystal.
Now, I'm going to go to perhaps the most head-scratching take of all. This is Mehdi Hassan, who has been very good on Israel-Gaza and rightly critical of Joe Biden. But he was not as clear.
The first mainstream reporter I've seen use blue MAGA in a headline.
That's right. But he did not express the same clarity here. Maybe he alienated too many of the blue MAGA people with that article, so he's trying to win some of them back. But this is not working. On foreign policy, specifically Gaza, one of the worst, most blood-stained presidents of my lifetime. On domestic policy, without a doubt, the best, most progressive president of my lifetime. And that's what that is. That little graphic there. I don't know.
Of all the lepers that I've known, Joe Biden had the most fingers.
Genocide in Gaza, failed student debt reduction attempts that have been shot down in court. I mean, it's kind of a wash.
It's a wash.
Yeah,
it's a wash.
He thinks it's a wash. It
Crystal will be
Ball
for history to decide how that stacks up.
Exactly. So there you go. That is a sampling of the different takes that you have reacting to this very, very tumultuous news.
Yeah. The next few weeks are going to be hard to take. That was where I really appreciate what Crystal had to say there, because that's exactly how I feel. God, the Joe Biden is great man shit. We'll get into that in another segment. Joe Biden, I have challenged libs to respond to this. This is what I used to do with Hillary when they would defend Hillary. There's the famous picture of Bill Clinton at the Stone Mountain Correction Facility, birthplace of the Ku Klux Klan, with the phalanx of black prisoners in chains behind him. And that's how he announced that he was running for president in 1992. And I would always tell them, to really, if I just got sick of going back and forth, I would say, if you can give me one credible, non-racist explanation for why Bill Clinton announced his campaign this way, I give you my word, I will vote for Hillary Clinton. Not one of them ever took me up on that. Not one of them ever took me up on that. If you can name an active, living politician who has done more damage to black communities than Joe Biden, I will vote for the Democrats this year. Credibly. Can't just pull a name out of your ass. Credibly. Show me a living and active politician, still in office, that has done as much damage to black people as Joe Biden has. And I will vote Democrat if you can make a credible case.
Yeah, and no takers. No takers on that.
No. That ends the conversation, which shows you they know. They're not even ignorant of who this guy actually is when you really push them that way. So what are you talking about that he's a great man? And those are the same people who cannot bend your ear enough about how much they care about black lives and how much Black Lives Matter. Same fucking people. Okay, so why would you support this fucking monster? This monster. Why is that forgivable? That's a peasant mentality. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about a peasant mentality. You've got a man who literally destroyed tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives of mostly black and brown people, 2 generations, with his crime bill that he literally wrote with segregationists. It's complicated. It's erased by things he did that you liked. When your standards for your leaders are lower than your standards for your neighbors, you're thinking like a peasant. He's up there. I can't judge him by human standards. He's up there and I'm just a little person. You're thinking like a peasant. Joe Biden is a pig. He is a pig. If there is a hell, that is where he belongs.
Well, it's funny. There is a we weren't going to do this. I mean, we were going to maybe do this segment, and now we're obviously not. We're never going to, because it's moot. But look at this. In line with what you're saying here and the just peasant mentality of the blue MAGA crowd here, Aaron Sorkin, how I would script this moment for Biden and the Democrats. Then he goes in there, at their convention next month, the Democrats should nominate Mitt Romney. Nominating Mr. Romney would be putting our money where our mouth is, a clear and powerful demonstration that this election isn't about what our elections are usually about but about stopping a deranged man from taking power. And I tweeted out, and this was a good tweet, but as you could see, nothing, because look, I tweeted this out at 1:56 p.m., which was the minute that Biden announced he was dropping out.
Yeah,
so
nobody gave a shit.
Talk about getting overshadowed.
It's very funny that this dropped, because I saw somebody I know who used to organize for Bernie, but then started organizing people for any Democrat after Bernie was out, saying, hey, could we get the band back together to try to force a progressive through the convention or some shit? And, I looked at that and I was just like, you might as well get behind Mitt Romney. Just get behind Mitt Romney. His policies are not going to be any further to the right than any Democrat that would actually get through the nominating process. And unlike them, he'll probably actually be able to pass legislation.
Well, here's the point. is that he says this election is about stopping a deranged man from taking power. And so I tweeted out, has Aaron Sorkin ever asked himself why Democrats are incapable of stopping a deranged man from taking power on their own terms?
Right.
No, because Democrats have none of their own terms. They are basically, and if Sorkin has his way, literally more polite Republicans. And that's why, for him, it's just totally acceptable. Well, this isn't about any of our policy
We should coin
goals.
the phrase pronoun Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
They're
they
the
are.
pronoun Republicans.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Look, dude, I'm not even kidding. When I see like real Democrats, like real blue MAGA Democrats, if they make a political statement, it's almost always about shit like that. It's almost always that kind of thing, just identitarian, particularly LGBTQ. Like that is the preferred virtue signal, because that's the signal they get from their leaders, that's the best way to show how morally virtuous you are. They're willing to use Hulk Hogan's stage name. You know, there are other situations where you could use people's chosen names.
Yeah.
That's their idea of like politics, of having politics.
Are you guys boycotting Disney films? I am. I mean, I don't.
I don't really need to. They're so bad, I just don't watch them.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm informally boycotting them because I have no interest.
Yep. All right.
I mean, but that Captain America thing, I will literally boycott. Like, I won't see that.
There you go. They used Biden just to push the jab. Now he's no use to them. They used him to push a lot more than that. A lot more than that. Russia, Ukraine being the main objective. Don't forget, Donald Trump was Operation Warp Speed. They already had that. They needed him for the war with Russia that Trump didn't give them on time.
Yeah.
I want you to spend more time on my comment than the Clintons. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Yes, thank you. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. There you go. I read more of your comment than I did the Clintons' endorsement. Mission accomplished. Uncommitted one. There you go, Sovereignty. Appreciate that. Pelosi is the Bean Gesserit. Thank you.
Bene Gesserit.
Bene Gesserit. Bene Gesserit. Thank you. Uncommitted one. Sorry. What am I doing there? Apparently, Lush is selling watermelon soap with proceeds going to kids of Gaza. Is that right?
Is that true?
That's cool. That is cool. I didn't know what that brand was.
Well, look, there's. I'm sure they pay very well for ad reads.
Yeah, there you go. Russell has the best laugh ever. LOL. Thank you.
Thank you.
Some are calling on Joe Manchin to be the nominee. Well, you know, it's funny. I mean, Manchin, no. But I think, honestly, like the Democrat with probably the best chance of winning would be like a Andy Beshear from Kentucky. I don't think Shapiro from Pennsylvania would be very good. I think Andy Beshear from Kentucky is probably the most electable since he's the most generic and he codes the least Democrat. Like he's a Midwestern... Or not even mid. What the fuck is Kentucky? It's not even Midwestern, like Upper Appalachian or whatever. Folksy, moderates, and look, the moderates are in a better spot right now than the left flank of the Democratic Party, and I doesn't give me any pleasure to say that, but that's how bad they've blown it.
What left flank? What left flank?
Yeah, that's how bad they've blown it.
Fucking Ilhan Omar out there singing the praises of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What left flank? There isn't one.
Yeah, exactly.
There isn't one. They were all running around defending Joe Biden's candidacy right up until he dropped out. What left? There literally is not a left flank.
Expressing that policy set now is not even popular anymore because they have basically poisoned it with their incompetence and just utter stupidity over these years and subservience to the Democratic leadership. Like they've just made asses of themselves to the point where they don't have the credibility that the people who, and Joe Manchin is probably too much because you would lose so much of the base, but like a middle of the road, like an Andy Beshear type would probably be the best bet, even though he has no name ID. When they
should get Glenn Youngkin.
Yeah, right. Exactly. When they polled, they did an interesting poll like last week of younger Democrat versus Trump. Now, there's no such thing as younger Democrat because every younger Democrat is a person who's going to have their own negatives and, you know, they're going to come out. But generic younger Democrat against Trump, the generic younger Democrat does very, very well. And so if you pick a younger Democrat who people don't know much about, that might even be your best bet at this point. Better than Harris, I think. Better than Harris.
At the end of the day, remember, Trump is not popular.
No, he's not popular.
So if you actually did have a credible candidate, not cackling Kamala.
Yeah.
If you had a credible candidate, yeah, he's vulnerable. But this whole thing is such a shit show. You would need an exceptional candidate, and that's really not available to them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, why don't we do your montage next?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you probably sensed, I am really not gonna let the attempt to rehabilitate Joe Biden's image in the wake of his resignation go. In fact, I plan to do the first shit post we've done in 8 months probably. The last one was that Marianne one, the last shit post. I am planning on doing a shit post. Hopefully I'll have it ready for Thursday about Mr. Biden. But in the meantime, did you load in the slide of because I want to credit the guy who made it.
Yes.
Or showed it.
We got that.
Yeah, there it is. I got it. All right. So this was from Question Everything. So big shout out. I'm not sure if he made it, but I think he did. And it's very good. So this is just a brief 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes of some of the lowlights of Joe Biden's career.
Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage.
Contributors, and the only reason, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself.
And turns out one of my closest friends ends up being Strom Thurmond. That's a very nice...
All right, so Strom Thurmond was in the Klan. He ran for president as a segregationist candidate. I think it was 1948. He ran as a segregationist.
Introduction. It could have been shortened a great deal by saying, Joe Biden is here tonight. He works for Strom Thurmond. In a nutshell, the president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them.
We passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
Why have I been so reluctant, so persistent in not providing aid for the people of Serbia, who are many good people? Why? Because until they look in their hearts, they can never cure themselves of the disease that they are the oppressed.
God-awful thing to say. If Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot.
President Joe Biden, how are you? Nice to see you.
I was suggesting we bomb Belgrade. I was suggesting that we send American pilots in and blow up all the bridges on the Drina.
I think the one place where the greatest consternation would be caused in the short term for admission would be to admit the Baltic states now in terms of NATO-Russian, U.S.-Russian relations. And if there was ever anything that was going to tip the balance, were it to be tipped in terms of a vigorous and hostile reaction, I don't mean military, in Russia, it would be that.
You think? You think adding Baltic states would generate a hostile reaction from Russia? Wow. Young Joe Biden should give elderly, dementia-ridden Joe Biden a call about that. Let him in on it. Remember, now, for anyone who wants to say, oh, this is in the past, Joe Biden in 2019 opened his campaign by bragging about how close his relationship was with segregationists. and how they got things done, and how they didn't call him boy. They called him son. That's who Joe Biden is. He is a piece of shit. He has always been that person. Reagan thought his draft of a crime bill was too extreme. And when he's talking about if you get caught with that, 5 years, this is where the famous disparity between crack cocaine and powdered cocaine comes from. If you're using the street drug, 5 years. You didn't have that provision for people using the powdered form, which is a more upper class form. That is just a very small sampling. Obviously, this was all last minute. With my shit post, I will get into it more. But Joe Biden, he capped off a career of horrors with a genocide. That is how he should be remembered.
Yes. Yes. And he was always just a nasty, ignorant moron who thought that during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the way to garner as much power and influence was to basically co-opt the worst ideas of an ascendant Republican Party and put a D next to it, right? And he was not the only one to do that, but as Russell said, he's the last active and present political figure serving now who really rode that wave. And that was his strategy throughout his whole life. And that is why in his later years, he became, when he, quote unquote, softened on some of these things. And I say quote unquote softened because his temperament softened because he became an old man, right?
I don't even see it that way. The times changed.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. The way he presented softened. He is now just a company man. He's the guy who cut his, he cut his teeth in that era, and he knows that those are the only kind of politics in his mind that work. Bill Clinton, same thing. Hillary Clinton, same thing. All these Democrats from that era, same thing. That is the only way to wield power. The only way to wield power is on behalf of the rich and the large corporations and the MIC against the ordinary people, not only of this country, but of the world. And that's just who he is. And obviously, there's just no place for that. I think this was from Corn Pop because it says on the bottom from Corn Pop. I think this guy just embedded it into his tweet. So whoever did that, good job. Good on you for doing that. Seems like Corn Pop was the original uploader, if not the editor. But that was a nice little retrospective and a nice good riddance to Joe Biden. All right, we got a couple more.
Riddance to bad rubbish.
Exactly. Got a couple more Biden pieces to do, and then we do have some other stuff to get to tonight. So hit that like button, folks. Hit that subscribe button. While you are here, we are up at 2166 on Rumble. One of these. There we go. So smash that like button, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. Derek P., great show, guys. Russ, paddle on down to Coney Island and make some Brighton Beach memoirs with Norm.
You know what? That's one of their trips, but I think that's the advanced. Like, you have to do 3 intermediate trips before you can do an advanced trip.
But where would you start? You would start in the Hudson and go to Coney Island. That's a long ride.
Yeah, no, they have that.
Ride. Yep. That is a long one. You got to be careful you don't drift out to sea on that one.
Yes, exactly.
You have real control of that boat. Kamala will not be vetted. Look at how the MSM ignored Joe's dementia for years. Anything to stop Trump is the MSM motto and will be protected at all costs because of that. Yes, except you're forgetting one thing, P. Walker. The Republicans. Now she's the nominee, which means the Republicans look into her past and the Republicans run ads against her. That doesn't happen when you fail as a Democratic candidate. You never get to face the wrath of the Republican media machine, which now she will, obviously.
Yep. Look at she's going to get it from both sides. Look at some of Lee Fang's recent reporting on her, because he just republished his article about her the Catholic Church, and it was about a week or two ago he dropped the thing about environmental justice. You're going to hear a lot more about these things if she's the nominee, which she almost certainly will be.
Yes. I'd be happy to have a kayak race with you, Russell. You can carry our own boat. Think you can do it?
I can definitely carry my own boat, but I've been in a kayak 3 times, so I'm sure you'll win that race.
There you go.
I'll tell you what. I'll do that, and you come ride a bike with me in Midtown traffic at rush hour.
There you go.
What do you think?
Miserable Lib, Texas, props to you, Keaton. You said the Dems would replace Biden months ago. Thought you were crazy every time you brought it up, but you called it down to a T. Never doubt. Thank you, Miserable Lib.
Yeah, that's it.
Appreciate that. I can imagine what will be unburdened by what was. Thank you. Keaton predicted this. Thanks, $1 Million Trooper. Partly because of the state Biden was in, and partly because Biden didn't know what state he was in. Thank you.
And that's going back to 2020. You got footage of him not knowing what state he was in, literally.
Of course. Yep. You think Hillary will rear her ugly head, or is Kamala in for sure? I mean, they endorsed her already. I can't imagine.
She's not going to know.
If they had plans, yeah. It was all rumor.
Yeah, her running for president the first time cost them their whole Clinton Foundation grift. God knows what dirty shit they're up to now.
Yeah, I don't think. I never thought that was serious. If they were, I do not think they would be endorsing her now. They'd have done what Obama did, which is, hey, we'll have a process, right? They would have left the door open. DNC used debate to get rid of Biden, swap in a more credible candidate, stop vote count in middle of nights. Nothing's going to, I don't think anything is going to prevent a defeat at this point. Tell me about the rabbits. Yeah, there you go. Barack, yes, there we go. Why do you think Hillary has stayed out in 2024? We all know she has an ego that makes Elon Musk look modest. Do you think she just can't stand the thought of losing again, or what? That's probably partly it. She doesn't want to lose again. To go through that once is a grueling thing. To run for president is a grueling thing, and she had her chance.
I honestly, I'm joking, but I'm not. I've lived with the Clintons for more than half my life. They always have their finger in some dirty places, both physically in Bill's case and financially in terms of the whole Clinton enterprise. Her running for president fucked their whole grift. I'm sure they got other grifts going now. They don't need that kind of scrutiny.
Yeah, that could be true too. Obama's lack of endorsement of Kamala says it all. Buckle your seatbelts. We're just getting started. He may have just wanted to be above it all. I mean, I don't know the extent to which. I mean, it's going to be so hard, as we'll get to.
He never likes to get into things like that.
Yeah, he never likes to get into endorsements.
He does it by phone behind the scenes. He doesn't like to get his hands dirty in full view like that.
Yep. On the plus side, Biden will still be a hit on Cameo and OnlyFans. There you go. Thank you very much. Start the tape because I'm about to tell the truth. And F you if you can't handle it. Joe Biden will be back in 2028 and he'll be cogent and commanding, or my name isn't John Scarborough. Thank you very much. Fun Daga 99 just rewatched your great interview with Omali Yeshitela. His trial is September 3rd. Going to interview him again. We hope to, if not him, someone from his team. So his team reached out to us, and we might interview him again. It might be one of his lawyers. It might be somebody from their team, because obviously they're doing a blitz now. And so we will get back to them this week and nail something down. In fact, I think I last emailed them to see when they're available, because I said, now we can do it live or we can pre-record it, whatever you guys want. So
wouldn't they want us to do it closer to the trial?
Well, now the trial's in a month and a half, so they're kind of maybe booking things out. So that's why they reached out now. So it'll be whoever they want to send our way. I would obviously love to interview Omali again. That would be a home run, but someone from their team will be on the show soon. Yes. Thank you for that question. Nico House said that Kamala's sister worked for Hillary. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Caleb Maupin wrote a book on Kamala Harris in 2020. It's going to be a Kamala-Hillary ticket. They're rumoring that she's going to pick that guy from Arizona, Mark Kelly, the Democratic senator. Maybe give her a swing state edge there. That's probably the front runner for now. But who can say it at this point?
They're going to have a very hard time finding a VP who's not going to outshine her.
Yeah, well, that's why, like a Bashir or a Kelly, just a very boring, very white man from a swing state is a good pick. Does Trump still have a chance at winning the election? Yeah, I think he's in a pretty
We're
good spot.
assuming that's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah. David Santucci, any polling out there of Kamala versus Trump? My guess is it's about the same as Biden, if not worse.
She's
it's about
a couple points under Biden, but not as much as you might expect.
Yeah, it's about the same.
Because his numbers weren't good to begin with.
Yeah, it's about the same. It's about the same. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. I'm going to tell you the truth, and if you can't handle it, then F you. This version, Kamala is the... Thank you, Omer. Kamala and Pete Buttigieg face plants. It's not going to be that. I don't think it's
mean, that all this is like Christmas for podcasters already. That would make it like Christmas, the 4th of July, and New Year's Eve all wrapped up into one. If she ran with Buttigieg. So.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's not going to happen. I don't think.
No
way.
No way.
Zach Boyles. Hey, it's been a while, Zach Boyles. Haven't seen you around here in a while. Congrats, Russ. Caught your street interviews. Great work. Fong interview A+ to the A+2, though I don't see Brett Weinstein everywhere near the Hyper Z folks mentioned.
You know, some folks I noticed in the comments said I might have been thinking of Eric, and that could very well be true. I haven't sat down and really listened to the Weinsteins. I've seen a lot of headlines. So I might have seen Weinstein and thought it was Brett, and it might have been Eric. Because I've seen a couple of people say that. So that may be. And you know, I mean, since we're talking about that particular segment, just quickly, I've seen some people say, I'm MAGA and I'm anti-foreign wars. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking. I'm specifically talking about what they're often defining as the intellectual dark web, where you have these anti-woke people who are all on board with all the worst elements of the U.S. foreign policy establishment. Yeah, of course, Tucker is somebody who's we're people who are anti-woke who are against those foreign policies. But we're really talking more about these Dawkins people, these, Pinker and McWhorter, all these people who have really built their careers around being intellectual dark web kind of figures. I mean, Dissident Dialogues, they're dropping the videos. Go watch them for yourselves. You will see no dissent at all about foreign policy amongst all these figures.
Yeah, no. And one of the Weinsteins is a big Zionist guy. I forget which one.
I guess it's the other one.
I get them mixed up.
I must have made a mistake because I've seen the comment a few times. So
I honestly don't find either of them very interesting. And so that's why maybe I would mix them up.
Weinstein's story about what he experienced at Evergreen College has really been, his claim to fame or what's most interesting about him. Yeah. But I guess it's Eric. But yeah, from what people have said on that video, they've said not that he's pro-Palestine, he's just kind of stayed out of it wisely, I guess.
Interesting. I don't even like the show, but Keaton was right. Fair enough. Well, thank you, Absalom Jones. Appreciate that. Fair is fair, right? Hey, Russ, you forgot to take the cackling comma lost only because she's a black woman, etc. I've already heard it preemptively. Well, that's, Joy Reid is probably going to have to be hospitalized with an aneurysm at that point. Yeah, it's going to be quite the ride. And our next segment is going to get into that because there's a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen next. Biden is declining so fast, I'm not sure he will even be alive by the election. Progressive Lefty, thank you so much. Are you going to watch or comment on Robert Kennedy's comments? No. What do you think we have? How many hours do you think we have in a day to watch and comment on his comments? Also, you both look like older versions of Linus and Charlie Brown. Get a blanket, Keaton. No, I mean, maybe I'll look into it if time presents itself. Okay, so Keaton's going to be door dashing, Sparky Gump. He's in Troy. I'm in Schenectady. How do I finagle a Keaton DoorDash? Meet you at Crossgates Mall. Yeah. I did my first shift yesterday, just a few hours, just because
Crossgates Mall in Albany?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's still there?
Yeah, it's still there.
Oh,
Crossgates Mall is still there.
You just brought me back to my college days, man. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Crossgates is still there, and there's the Colony Mall, too. But yeah, if you're in Schenectady, there's a chance I'll see you. I get pulled over there sometimes. It's in a different zone. But yeah, I did my first shift the other day because Amanda's maternity leave is not real maternity leave. You don't get real maternity leave in this country. The first 2 months of maternity leave are like 15% of your salary or whatever. Like it's a joke. It's a joke. So yes, I was back behind the wheel the other day. Okay. All right. We're going to keep plugging along here. Now that Joe Biden is out of the race, the big question is, what happens now? So Politico put out this handy little piece. What happens next now that Biden has dropped out? So they broke this into neat little sections. So who is the next Democratic nominee? Biden's endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris gives her a major leg up in the fight for the nomination, but that doesn't mean it's a slam dunk. Although Biden faced only nominal opposition in the Democratic primary and won nearly every contest, he was not yet the party's official nominee, and he cannot make a unilateral decision. Broadly, when Americans vote in primaries, they are not voting directly for a candidate, but kicking off a process that will ultimately send delegates to the party's national convention. Those delegates are the ones who officially pick the nominee, and the Democrats' convention hasn't happened yet. The convention is scheduled for August 19th through the 22nd in Chicago, although party leaders were considering a virtual roll call to name the nominee earlier in the month. The DNC must now decide if it wants to carry through with its plan. All of those nearly 3,800 Biden delegates have now become free agents. Even with Biden's endorsement, the delegates who were pledged to him are under no obligation, according to the DNC's rules, to follow his lead and support his chosen successor. Now, the real question here is, does the DNC wait until the convention to do this, or do they just push Kamala through from, what was it, July 31st to the 5th or something, or August 1st to the 7th? The first, like last week of July,
I think
first week of August.
To the 7th, yeah, or July 30th to the
July
7th.
30th to August 7th. That's when they're going to do this virtual roll call vote. And so the question here is, do they stick with that plan? AOC did a truly ludicrous Instagram Live video the other day suggesting that if they tried to swap Joe Biden out, it would create all kinds of ballot access challenges that would ultimately go to the Supreme Court, and the scary right-wing court would deem Biden ineligible in all the swing states, and they would steal the election. Obviously, total nonsense. That theory has not gained traction anywhere else because it's totally not true, just a bunch of gaslighting bullshit. We had a whole piece prepared on that tonight, kind of moot now, given the fact that Joe Biden has dropped out. But what's not moot is the question of, do they actually take this to the convention and open it up to the floor where you'll have theoretically some debate, assuming somebody else steps up and challenges Kamala? So far, nobody has, as of this recording at least. Or do they just go through and do this virtually? The pro-democracy thing to do would be to have a brokered convention. Do they give a shit about that? Is there anybody in the party that gives a shit about that? Is there anyone in the party who cares enough to demand that? Probably not. That's my guess. And my guess is they're going to want a nominee squared away heading into the convention so they can get all the signage
they can
and
build
the shit
the convention around it. Yeah,
exactly. So my guess is they're going to go through with the virtual roll call, but that still is a question. And this is why I think Kamala Harris has it so locked up. Who can run for the nomination? So who is eligible to throw their hat in the ring and say, okay, now that it's not Biden, I'm running? Anyone who can garner enough signatures to have their name placed in nomination. Candidates need signatures from at least 300, but no more than 600 delegates. Don't forget, this is not you go out on the streets like we did with Jose and get signatures. It is now in the delegates' hands, not the voters' hands. So if you want to submit yourself for nomination, you need the signatures of at least 300 delegates, and delegates can sign only one candidate's petition. Additionally, a candidate could not submit more than 50 delegates from a given state, a provision to ensure that all candidates placed in nomination earn support from a broad swath of the country. There are roughly 4,700 delegates, capping the number of possible candidates at around 15, but functionally there will be far fewer. The pressure to avoid a messy nomination will be enormous. Not only will the pressure to avoid a messy nomination be enormous, but who has access to 300 DNC delegates? Like, who has the contact information of these delegates where they can go up to them and get their signature, or they can they could rub elbows with them and grease them. Like, this is now an insider's game. This is now open to anybody. Yeah. You need to know 300 who knows 300 delegates? Kamala knows 300 delegates. Newsom probably knows 300 delegates. Whitmer, I'm sure Hillary Clinton does. I mean, outside that, you're talking about a very small number of people who are who can even possibly throw their hat into the ring. You add that to the fact that Biden has already endorsed Kamala. The Clintons have already endorsed Kamala. We don't have a full list. I think Adam Schiff endorsed Kamala today. I mean, the list of people who are endorsing her now is going to be growing by the hour. How is anybody going to get their foot in the door against Kamala? It's almost impossible.
Jimmy, I talked to him about this. He has a press pass to get onto the floor. I think he should try to talk to some of these delegates while he's in there.
Run. Yeah, exactly.
Run. It's not too late.
Who are the delegates, and how does the roll call vote work? Of the 4,700 convention delegates, just under 4,000 are pledged delegates, awarded according to the results of the presidential primaries earlier this year. Biden won roughly 95% of them, according to the Green Papers, a website that tracks the arcane process of delegate selection. There are another roughly 750 automatic delegates, the group once known as superdelegates. They are elected officials, party leaders, and former luminaries like former presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Jimmy Carter, and former DNC chairs. After the 2016 campaign, these automatic delegates were stripped of their role in the first round of voting and only get to vote for the nominee in subsequent rounds if no candidate earns a majority on the first ballot, or if that rule is waived, as was the case in 2020 when Biden had the support of a majority of pledged delegates. There are questions about whether the DNC will continue with that plan now that Biden has ended his campaign. If the vote instead occurs on the convention floor, DNC rules provide 20 minutes of nominating speeches for every certified candidate prior to the first ballot. Again, you're talking maybe 3 or 4 tops. I doubt it's even going to be that. I doubt it's going to be anybody, to be honest with you. They might have like who was the hapless schmuck who ran in 2016 as a symbolic thing? Martin O'Malley, right?
Oh, that
Because
guy.
they didn't want it to look like a coronation, so they got some idiot to run. They might do something like that if they take it to the convention, which is a big if. But I don't think that's going to come into play. If no candidate earns a majority of the first ballot, automatic delegates join the voting on the second round, meaning the superdelegates could push Kamala over the top. That is almost certainly going to be moot. What happens to Biden's campaign infrastructure and the money? Okay, so this was a big question that a lot of people had. What happens to the money that he raised? And Politico even doesn't have a clear answer. So this is going to be interesting.
I've read different things about this.
Yeah, nobody seems to know. Nobody seems to know. As of the end of June, Biden's campaign had $96 million in the bank and staffers and field offices across the country. That's a massive amount of infrastructure. Who gets it now? There is no real precedent for a ticket switch in this era of big money elections. But many campaign finance experts have argued that as long as Harris remains on the ticket, potentially as the presidential nominee, but also if she is nominated for vice president again, she can fairly seamlessly assume control of that bank account. The money, after all, was given to a Biden-Harris committee registered for both of them, not just the president. Like I said, I don't know if I buy that, and it seems like they don't know if they buy that either. This view is not universally held. Charlie Spies, a prominent Republican election lawyer who briefly worked as the RNC's chief counsel earlier this year, before reportedly being chased off by Trump and his allies, argued in a Wall Street Journal op-ed that Harris was not entitled to that money, raising the specter that somebody would try to block that handoff in court. Campaigns can also make unlimited transfers to their respective party committees, so perhaps the cleanest outcome especially if Harris is not on the ticket, would be the Biden campaign giving his cash to the Democratic National Committee, which could then spend it on the upcoming elections. But all of this is unprecedented territory. And finally...
I read something that said the DNC could put it into a PAC that supports the campaign, or they could use it to support campaigns, as that says, but they couldn't just give it to the Kamala campaign. That would be illegal because I guess people didn't donate for that. It's really cockamamie.
It's very difficult to say. Like I said, there's not really a clear answer because the super PAC is not the campaign, and there are laws that forbid direct communication. So, yeah, I mean, you could put that to use in the interest of the candidate, but that's different from actually giving it to the campaign, who could then allocate
then you would
it the
lose
way they see
control
fit.
over how it's used. Yeah,
exactly. They could blow it all on TV ads or whatever. Most modern presidents. How has this ever happened before? Most modern presidents have sought a second term, with Lyndon B. Johnson as a notable exception. After assuming the remainder of JFK's term and winning a full term outright in 1964, Johnson was planning on running again in 1968, but he was dragged down by the unpopular Vietnam War and only squeaked out a win in the New Hampshire primary. A vulnerable Johnson facing the anti-war Eugene McCarthy and a late entrance from Robert Kennedy announced to a shocked nation in March 1968 that he would no longer seek the party's nomination for president. Soon after, Hubert Humphrey, his vice president, would launch a campaign of his own. The assassination of RFK obviously changed the dynamics of the race, and Humphrey won the nomination on the first ballot at a convention in Chicago that turned violent around the debate over the Vietnam War and the party platform. Humphrey went on to lose to Richard Nixon that November. In that case, obviously, you had you had Lyndon Johnson drop out fairly early in the process, not this late in the process. So you had more a conventional campaign take shape after LBJ announced he would no longer seek a second term, or a third term, a second and a half term. So you had a more orderly transition to the new nominee. So has this ever happened before in modern history? Yes and no, but not really. Because now the primaries are over. Not like this. Exactly.
It's quite remarkable. Nobody seems to know, because I've read like 3 different articles on this, and they've all covered the question of what can and can't be done with the money differently. It seems like it might have to go to court because it doesn't seem like anybody really knows.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't seem like anybody has any real idea about the money, or even about how this process is going to happen, because the DNC is not saying at this moment, and for all we know, this could be changing because things are happening very quickly. Are they going to take this to the convention in Chicago, or are they going to do this beforehand? That's still the most important question. But then all those other questions remain. So the big takeaway here, what we can answer for sure, is that Biden's delegates are not bound to do as he wishes. They are likely to do as he wishes, but they're not bound to it. So if Obama comes up with a last-minute mulligan, he's the boss. They could go with him. Unlikely, but that is possible.
Can you imagine how much Kool-Aid you have to have running through your veins to become a Democratic Party delegate?
Oh, yeah.
They'll do as they're told.
They will do as they're told if Obama makes a move, because he's the only notable person who has left his options open there. Maybe that's why he did. But this could be resolved in as little as 14 days or as long as a month. I think it's in the interest of the party leadership to get this wrapped up by the first week of August so that they get the signage and the marketing materials ready for the convention. Then again, that comes with shutting out any semblance of a democratic process, which, I mean, do the Democrats, are they going to let that stop them? They never really have. So my guess now, if I have to double down and make another prediction, see, I don't just bask in the glory of being right once. I'm going to follow this up with a second time. I think they're going to try to get this nomination done first week of August. I don't think they're going to want to go to the convention. I don't think they're going to want another month to go by on the calendar without knowing the nominee. Time is money. Time is money.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're already so behind the 8 ball.
Yeah,
as it is, and they've wanted Kamala for 8 years.
Right.
Why would they have some kind of a floor fight? And besides that, Whitmer and Newsom, as you pointed out, this election has already damaged goods. Why would they want it?
Yeah.
So at that point, who's left? Who's going to mount a floor challenge?
No, the only person who could theoretically do it would be one of these unknown white bread assholes like Josh Shapiro, Andy Bashir. Dean, I don't think it would be Phillips because he already, burned his bridges with them by challenging Biden. But like an Andy Bashir type who are like, hey, you're a generic unknown Democrat who pollsters say they prefer to Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, so why don't you try it? I mean, you're never going to be president on your own merits anyway, so here's a chance. Here, go do your best. Like, maybe.
Sure. And
Very
they're not going to
unlikely.
want to risk that.
Very unlikely. Very unlikely. It's almost certainly going to be Kamala, and that's it. They're just going to have to live with that. I mean, she's the relief pitcher. She gets the ball. That's it. Like, it's that simple. Only arm in the bullpen. You're vice president. President's out. You're the understudy. You're the one who knows the lines. Get up there and give it your best. That's it.
Listen, this watching the remaining party faithful try to put lipstick on that pig is going to be the funniest fucking election season ever. And now I'm looking forward to it. It was all kind of grim before. Watching Kamala run for president against Donald Trump, every day is going to be like Christmas.
Against Trump, too. That's the other thing.
Against
right?
Trump.
Against Trump. Yeah.
This is, they say they don't make great sitcoms anymore. Well, here you go.
Yeah. Exactly.
The greatest sitcom of all time is going to unfold over the next 106 days.
Indeed. Jake, do you have the supporter scroll ready? I put the heads up in the private chat, but now I'll do it verbally there. Oh, you do. Beautiful. Look at Jake. Round of applause for Jake in the chat, everybody. Big round of applause for Jake for being here tonight. If you like what we do here, you can help us do more of it by going to patreon.com/DoDissidents and becoming a supporter of the program. Your Patreon dollars get you a place up on the show credits here. They also get you call-in access to our post-show Q&As every Sunday night on Rumble, and tonight is Sunday night, which means we will be switching to Rumble after the show for our question and answer session. All are welcome to watch. Paid members are welcome to call in, so you can go to patreon.com/DoDissidents. You can also go to DoDissidents.substack.com and join up there, or you can join our locals. That's right, DoDissidents.locals.com for as little as $5 a month. All perks are the same across all tiers. So if you would like to sign up, you get your name up in lights, call-in access to the Q&As, and you get 2 bonus streams per month, which are patron-exclusive live streams, which are not only do we do content there, but we take calls. So those are full-length interactive live streams, 2 per month, exclusively for our supporters, who are the backbone of the show. And if you're watching on Rumble, you can join our locals by clicking that bright red join button underneath the video player. We currently have 3,037 watching over on Rumble, which is good for one of these. 25. And we're getting very close to a 6666, 3435 in the YouTube Twitter chat, 3,037 over on Rumble, so that's good for about 6,500, 64 and a half. That's what we're looking at now. And so, oops, sorry. So, yes, if you want to hit that like button, let's get a few more people in here, and then we'll hit our 6666. But thank you, all of our paid subscribers. You guys are the backbone of the show. We appreciate you all so much. All right. YepX. Please invite Alex from the Mark Engels Lenin Institute to talk politics and philosophy. He streams on YouTube and Twitter. Thank you, YepX. Excuse me. Zach Boyles, I particularly appreciate Biden firing the jab visors, blocking FDA jab approval to give cover to the mandates. Then the great man forced a different one. Thank you, Zach Boyles. Hey, Zach Boyles, where have you been? You haven't been here in a while. Yadira Ramirez, a nice shirt, Keaton. Where'd you get it? Link, I got this on Amazon. I got this for the live show. That's the only place I could get it. I couldn't find it anywhere else. Like, they don't sell this in stores. You know, they don't have a kiosk for this. It's not like the Pride t-shirts.
They do not.
You know, they don't have a kiosk for this at Target. Can't find these at Target. MT, my sis Navita gifted me amazing Due Dissidents merch for my 40th, so I'll be wearing my new tee with my keffiyeh to work this week. Oh, beautiful. That's amazing. Hence the $10, given the likelihood of keeping said job. Peace and love from the UK. There you go. Thank you.
I just want to say we've gotten some great designs since we threw this out, both logo designs, and we've gotten some great merch designs. Somebody sent a great scumbag, douchebag, tote bag idea. So yeah, there should be some new merch coming soon.
Yeah, we should get some designs
and a new logo
out there soon, and a new logo. Some very good logo designs too. So thank you all for your.
I'm actually some of these graphic designers, because I'm working on this Star Wars thing, and I need some custom graphics. Some of the best of what we've gotten, I'm going to reach out to. There's some stuff I know you can do some of this, but some of it you can't. Some of what I want you can't do.
Dem should back libertarian. He identifies as Dem. I would actually, I don't generally like to interview politicians. Never been particularly excited to do it. Chase Oliver would be an interesting interview, though. That would be kind of interesting. And I think he might agree to it because he's not getting interviewed anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. That might be an interesting one. Thank you, Zach. Oh, look at this guy over here. Best Boomer Vita. $199.99. Damn. Thank you again. Didn't you give us $100 the first time? Wow. Thank you.
He's a boomer, man. He's got all the fucking money.
Got all the money, yeah. Exactly. Thank you so much. It's extremely kind of you.
He bought his house when it was $26.
My questioning on Whitney Webb's interview on Jimmy Dore relates to Peter Thiel's financial involvement with Rumble and the effect on independent medias. Can you please comment? Oh, did I dodge your question the first time? Well, if you're giving us... Hold on a second. If you're giving us $200 for each dodge, why wouldn't I dodge it again?
I mean, now we'll make it a 500. We'll make it a segment.
yeah, for 500, we'll make it a segment. Yeah.
No, seriously. Look, so far, Peter Thiel has run Rumble according to the principles that he has said it would have. He's been much
Well, does he run
consistent.
it, or is he just an investor? Like, is he an owner?
He's an
investor, owner, whatever. I mean, Pavlovsky.
Yeah,
is
Pavlovsky actually runs it.
Yeah.
So, hey, Rumble has much more stuck to the principle of free speech for all than Elon has.
Of course.
Elon is the queen of hearts. It depends on what he feels like doing that day. But as Rumble content creators, they have been what X should be.
Yeah, now what Whitney Webb was suggesting there, which is an interesting theory. I mean, and look, I think ultimately she makes a lot of sense. And this is something that's ultimately unknowable. She's saying these free speech platforms can be a trap for the surveillance state because they get people there who can say whatever they want, and then when they say something bad, now they're on the government's radar.
Right.
Is that a risk?
Jimmy's point was all of these platforms are gathering your information.
Yeah, your phone is gathering your information, right? Now, in terms of the effect on independent media, which is where I think you're coming from, which is like, do people feel a need to shill for a guy like J.D. Vance because they're on Rumble? No, I don't get the sense that that's
are you seeing that? I'm not seeing that.
I don't get the sense that that's the case, and especially because Rumble, they don't have the same kind of algorithm that YouTube has. It's kind of everybody goes as far as the audience will take them. And look, we've talked to the people
like YouTube used to be.
And we've had conversations. We've had talks with people high up at Rumble. Like, we've talked to them. I have the phone numbers of some of the guys at Rumble. We are, I mean, look at my shirt, for Christ's sake. Like, we don't conform to, whatever the political bent of the average Rumble creator is. They have not given us a hard time about anything. They let us say whatever we want. Just like they're going to let that interview with Whitney Webb on J.D. Vance up. They're not going to throttle that. They're not going to do anything to that. Right. And so it's not a perfect world where every platform is accessible to everyone to say whatever they want. That's one of the things that Jimmy said in that interview. Like, ultimately, as a creator, you need a platform. Would I love to be able to just do like what Alex Jones did and have my own site with my own video hosting where I can just project out to the world whatever the fuck I want and I'll work for anybody? Yeah, but who would find me? Who would find me? Right. You need a platform. The platform is what introduces us to all of you guys.
You gotta get pretty far before you can do that. Something like that.
Exactly. Even Alex Jones was on YouTube until they kicked him off for that reason.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's another thing. Even people who go to the website model will usually still drop their stuff on those platforms.
Exactly. You kind of have to. So I hope that was a satisfactory answer. You certainly deserve one for that generous donation. Thank you. Break it off in BlackRock. Make Russia, Ukraine, Russia again. Thank you, Sparky. Sparky holding it down over on Rumble there. What if the Dems pull the ultimate fast one and choose Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as their candidate? Can you smell what this campaign is cooking? That might be maybe he should run with her. That would be something.
That would be quite a ticket.
Yeah.
The transformation to idiocracy is complete.
Well, especially what if Trump dropped J.D. Vance and actually ran with Hulk Hogan, and then you had the VP debate was Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. That'd be something.
I texted Keaton the other morning. You are absorbing too much politics. I literally dreamt that Trump had picked J.D. Vance as a joke and was really running with Marco Rubio.
Yes.
I literally dreamt that. That is how deep into my psyche this shit has got.
He was about to tweet it out as breaking news.
Yeah.
Like, Trump announced J.D. Vance was a fake, and he announced he's running with Rubio. And what was really weird is he was eating a lollipop while riding an elephant at the time he made the announcement, which I thought was also strange. But I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Still calls him Little Marco in announcement.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes. Full laden swallow. Well, all I could say is I am so sorry to see you go, Joe. Not what a reprehensible puke of a person. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for the thumbs up, JM. Appreciate that. P. Walker. Normies don't read Lee Fong, and the MSM regularly ignores anything the GOP brings up. They'll just call it Russian disinfo as per usual.
Sure, but we're the smart crowd, so
it's going to get out there.
I would point you towards it. And yes, as Keaton's going to say, you're not going to be able to hide those stories. Those stories are going to get out there.
Yeah.
The environmental justice stuff, that'll get out there. The Catholic Church stuff, that'll definitely get out there.
Now, will they attack her on incarceration? I saw some right-wingers tweeting out, because now that Tulsi is more or less with the right, some of them are circulating that smackdown that Tulsi gave her in the Democratic debate about her record on incarceration. Will they go there? I don't know. Are the Republicans against mass incarceration? Not apparently. So we'll see where they go with that. We'll see.
A lot of the issues with Kamala are left issues for sure.
Right. So we'll see how much they want to go there. Sabby called Kamala as nominee a while ago. Thanks, Sparky. Jenna Tills.
You guys are going to have a kung fu fight.
Yeah. There you go. Hillary is totally just going to wear Kamala's skin. Yeah. Peter version 1. No matter who becomes president, Palestine loses. That is true.
That's
sadly.
true. Yep.
Excuse me. Hunter Kushner, 24. Thank you, Sparky. Let's get out the cowbell for Landrew. A lot of people showering us with some love tonight. Landrew, thank you.
Damn.
The baby. Thank you very much, Landrew. Much love to you and all the viewers. Free Palestine. Well, thank you. That is so kind of you. Appreciate that.
Landrew. Landrew is dead.
Not today. Not today, he's not.
That's true. I like this question. Soothsayer Weiss, who's your pick for Super Bowl 2045? Maybe the Beijing Pandas or the Kiev Blackhawks? Yeah, that's a good one. I like that one. I like that question very much. I don't know. I can't decide. NG Hermit, maybe I'm late to the party, but is the deep state just Israel in the shadows? Thank you, NG Hermits. could y'all cover prison gerrymandering, modern day 3/5 compromise? In Wisconsin alone, 1/8 of black men are currently incarcerated. PS free Palestine. Well, yes, obviously, yes. We're going to be talking, in the context of Kamala Harris, we'll be talking about that a lot, but we'll be talking about that in general. That's one of the things that's one of our through lines that we've kind of gotten started on the show, between the Boeing and
we were talking about this today, actually. As you've noticed, if you watch the show, there are certain subjects I really get my teeth into. Boeing is one of them. Yeah, mass incarceration is an issue I'm very passionate about. We haven't covered it as much as some of the other stuff that really draws my attention. I think partly because it's this background horror that doesn't usually make headlines. There's not usually like, oh, we got to cover this story. It's, did you see what just developed with mass incarceration? It's very rare that comes up. That having been said, we did do that story about Louisiana, but it had broader implications. And I did actually reach out to the AP journalist who did, if anybody saw, the AP did a great series about the modern slavery that is the prison system. And we were going back and forth when I was in LA about having her on, but it didn't work out. So maybe we'll get her on. But yes, I would love to throw more of a spotlight on those issues.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Because those are issues with Joe Biden as well.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
Oh, Landrew, another $300. Wow,
Dude.
where's all this coming from? Jesus. We're not worthy.
I am Landrew. Landrew is dead.
That's
No,
very
he's
kind
not.
of you.
No, he's not. Shut up, Captain.
Yeah. I would love to see an expression of truth by Democrats and nominate George Clooney giving us the finger. The baby. Well, thank you, Landrew. That's very kind of you.
Thank you, man.
And, yeah, man, George Clooney, hey, who knows? George Clooney might win. If they ran George Clooney, just run a famous, just fuck it. Just run an act. I mean, George Clooney's he's popular enough. He'd be a much stronger candidate than Harris. I mean, no question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But people fucking hate Hollywood at this point. And he really represents that liberal Hollywood that people hate.
Yeah, but he's a star. He's a star. You got to be a star. It's
It
good to
doesn't
be a
mean
star.
what that does not mean what it used to mean, man.
Yeah. Well, but it is more than Harris.
I don't.
Harris is
Hollywood has never been hated like it is now.
Harris is an extremely weak candidate. Extremely.
Sure.
Weak. I mean, extraordinarily weak.
I mean, at that point, if that's the argument you're making, there's a guy at the deli here. He's very charming. I could ask him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, ask him. Exactly. Kamala with AOC as VP. Think about it. Yeah, right. Yeah, that'll happen. Thomas Richardson, it's going to be Hillary. Deal with it. It's her time. This rumor mill really spun up around Hillary, and I really don't think that is going to happen.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. College football fans have known for a long time once the boosters start leaking, they want a coach gone. It's just a matter of time. Thank you, the judge. Some duder on Twitter said Biden is the greatest president of his lifetime. I replied, I don't know which. Didn't know they allow 3-year-olds on Twitter. There you go. Good one, His Highness. You're on a roll tonight. I've been saying this since 2016. An outsider like Trump will never be allowed to win the Democratic nomination. Yeah, they keep it under control.
No, that's funny because the reputation was always that the Republicans are disciplined and the Democrats are chaotic. That's an act, man. That's an act. They are very, very methodical and ruthless about having total control over their party and the figures in it.
Yeah, 100%. Teresa's Dolls and Vintage Collectibles. Thanks for the 10 pounds. My daughter is watching and wanted to say big love from Ireland. Well, big love to you.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. We're going to get to some other news. Some news that we were excited to share before the news broke of Joe Biden dropping out of the 2024 race. This is big news and good news for what it's worth. Israel should evacuate settlements and pay reparations. The International Court of Justice says Israel described the request for the court to weigh in as biased and an abuse of international law and the judicial process. Of course, they did.
Yeah.
The State of Palestine's Twitter account, the ICJ assessed the facts and the law and ruled in favor of humanity, morality, and legality. Watch the historic moment when the ICJ declared Israel's presence in Palestine as unlawful. So here is the condensed version of the judge's ruling.
The court unanimously find that it has jurisdiction to give the advisory opinion requested. 2, by 14 votes to 1, decides to comply with the request for advisory opinion. By 11 votes to 4, is of the opinion that the State of Israel's continued presence in the occupied territory is unlawful. By 11 votes to 4, is of the opinion that the State of Israel is under an obligation to bring to an end its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory as rapidly as possible. By 14 votes to 1, is of the opinion that the State of Israel is under an obligation to cease immediately all new settlement activities and to evacuate all settlers from the occupied Palestinian territory. By 14 votes to 1, is of the opinion that the State of Israel has the obligation to make reparation for the damage caused to all natural or legal persons concerned in the occupied Palestinian territory. By 12 votes to 3, is of the opinion that all states are under an obligation not to recognize as legal the situation arising from the unlawful presence of the State of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory and not to render aid or assistance in maintaining the situation created by the continued presence of the State of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. By 12 votes to 3, is of the opinion that international organizations, including the United Nations, are under an obligation not to recognize as legal the situation arising from the unlawful presence of the State of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory. By 12 votes to 3, is of the opinion that the United Nations, and especially the General Assembly, which requested this opinion, and the Security Council should consider the precise modalities and further action required to bring to an end as rapidly as possible the unlawful presence of the State of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory.
They've surrendered to the communists.
Yes. That's music to a lot of people's ears, as it should be. The International Court of Justice, the top judicial arm of the United Nations, said Friday that Israel should bring an end to its illegal occupation of Palestinian territory, cease new settlement activity, evacuate existing settlements, and pay reparations to Palestinians who have lost land and property. The court, based in The Hague, said Israel is responsible for systematic discrimination against Palestinians based on race or ethnicity and has breached the right of Palestinians to self-determination. The searing advisory opinion issued by judges is not legally binding, but the decision could have wide consequences in the international arena, including trade and diplomacy. The court said member states should not recognize as legal the situation arising from Israel's unlawful presence in occupied territory, nor should they render aid or assistance in maintaining it. Israel declined to take part in the hearings and described the proceedings as biased and an abuse of international law and the judicial process. The Jewish people are not conquerors in their own land. Israeli Prime Minister.
It's not your land. See, that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there.
That's right. That's right. And that's part of what the ruling recognizes. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on X after the announcement. No false decision in The Hague will distort this historical truth, and likewise the legality of Israeli settlement in all the territories of our homeland cannot be contested. The ruling marked the first time any international court has weighed in on the core issues related to the legality of Israel's occupation of the territory it seized during the 1967 war with neighboring Arab countries. Philippe Sands, a member of the Palestinian legal team, described Friday's opinion as hugely significant and possibly even more so in the long term than the genocide case, as it addresses the core of Israel's policy. Whatever Israel's reaction, far-reaching legal determination will have significant political consequences in heaping pressure on Israel and speeding up the process of recognition of the state of 6 by ever more countries, he said. The court was asked to determine the impact of Israel's occupation, the consequences of its ongoing violation of the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, and its discriminatory laws and measures aimed at altering the demographic composition, character, and status of Jerusalem. The ICJ, said Israel was responsible for restitution of property lost by all natural or legal persons concerned, or in cases where that is not possible, should pay compensation. It accused Israel of a systematic failure in preventing or punishing attacks by settlers in the West Bank, creating a coercive environment for Palestinians that is inconsistent with Israel's responsibilities as an occupying power. It said Israel's policies and practices entrench its control of illegally occupied territory, creating irreversible effects on the ground that essentially amount to the annexation of large parts of Palestinian territory. So, we have seen Israel basically threaten sanctions against the ICC. We have seen Democratic and Republican politicians here sign on to that. And we use the phrase international outlaws to describe those people who are advocating for threats and sanctions against the International Criminal Court. Well, this allows you to call anyone, certainly anyone, who criminalizes movements like BDS as international outlaws, because this gives legal legitimacy to the boycotting, divesting from, and the sanctioning of this rogue criminal state. And does that have diplomatic repercussions and trade repercussions? I think it will. Yes. This is what we've been saying for a while, that, it's easy to blackpill yourself about this given the horror of what's happening, and there's a lot to be blackpilled about, no doubt.
Did you see that video of that little girl covered in dust?
I mean, that
really went around the last couple days. It's just some of these images.
Oh yeah,
just horrors beyond imagining. There's no coming back from this. Israel, whatever, it doesn't matter who wins the election. America's Israel's bitch, but not the entire world is. And Israel lost its greatest strategic asset, the ability to hide behind the Holocaust. They lost that. That was their greatest shield. It was a big part of why most people didn't understand what Israel was, because they so effectively were able to brand anyone who tried to educate people about it as anti-Semites, and they invoked the Holocaust, and this just forced people to look into it. Israel is what would have happened if South Africa could have hidden behind some historic genocide against white South Africans to keep people from looking at what was happening in South Africa. Right. This is how sick and evil it gets without any kind of scrutiny when you have what is essentially a supremacist colonial project. What could be more supremacist than the chosen people returning to the land given to them by God? What is more supremacist than that premise? And what is not justified within it?
Well, yeah. Yeah. And like I said, this just prompted an examination of that. The idea that the fact that this was the first case of its kind at the ICJ tells you how long this has gone on without just a baseline level of scrutiny. And upon such scrutiny, it has no actual standing according to international law. The international law looks like what it looks like because of the Holocaust. I mean, that is one of the great tragic ironies of this, is that part of the reason why we have these international structures, for whatever they're worth. And like I said, they say this is not binding. People say it is binding. Binding or non-binding, it might makes right in this situation. And in the short term, Israel has the United States in its corner, which means there is going to be a degree of impunity that comes with that. But in time, when you have rulings like this, it is now legitimate and legal, and according to this ruling, actually the obligation of states, if they want to remain in good standing internationally, to cut the state of Israel off, to not trade with them, to not have normal diplomatic relations with them. That's what that ruling reads. And that will have an impact down the road. Not may have an, it will. It will, for sure. And that's what is very significant about this. And that's why it's important that these cases are now finally, for the first time, aired. And it is just incredible that it took this long to do this, because Israel has been brutalizing these people for decades. But in 2023 and 2024, technology being what it is, media being what it is, there's just no way to get away with it. There is just no way to unsee the things that we've seen. There's no way to suppress this information. And so a reckoning was forced upon them. And this is not a final reckoning. This is just one step of the way. There have been other steps along the way that we have talked about. Norm Finkelstein has a book about how the ICC is compromised. Like these are not processes that are in themselves cause for celebration and jubilation, but the road to getting justice for this is going to be a long one, and these are necessary steps along the way. Without these steps, you don't get there.
Right. Look, it's anecdotal, but I do buy hummus, and that Sabra, they cannot give that shit away, man. And that's in Harlem.
Yeah.
Like you look at the other brands, Tribe, Cedar, those move. The Sabra, they do.
Yeah.
And the Sabra, it's just sitting there.
I buy
man.
Cedars, yeah.
It's been like that really since after October 7th. I dropped a couple of videos like that on X showing that they had to keep putting it on sale.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I went and bought some the other day, and it seems to be getting worse. I keep saying when I find a minute, I'm going to look if I can find some credible source on this. I know a port in Israel went bankrupt or is on the edge of bankruptcy because of lack of trade. Now it's partly because of the Houthis, but it is also a drop in trade due to boycotts. And I've seen different numbers about tens of thousands of Israeli businesses that have gone under during this. So I hope that's true. I'll look into it. That's as horrific as it is. We all wish we could do more, but that's a big part of what we can do. Boycott Israel, destroy their economy, make it just impossible for them to function as a nation. So that forget about a two-state solution. They just voted, including the opposition party, not to have a two-state solution. They just voted that in the Knesset last week. They have no interest in that. So what you need is a one-state solution. And you can only get that by bringing Israel to its knees by every means possible.
Yep. Agreed. You can find the Palestine watermelon shirts on wethepeace.com. It's also Palestinian owned, I believe.
Oh, yeah?
Well, way to go. Then go there.
It's good to know.
What is it? wethepeace. W-E-A. Thepeace.com. Okay.
Weather piece.
Yeah. I'll have to try a few different versions of that. But thank you, Samar D. Appreciate that. Salamander Fry. Hey, all right. Thank you very much. Bethany Hunts. Greetings from Adelaide. Thank you. That's good for a cowbell. Thank you for the $50. Appreciate that. Usually asleep while you're live, so here's 50 while I can. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for all the great work, guys. Can you do an interview with Richard Wolff and spread the word RE co-ops? We need to create alternative to capitalism, not just complain. Yeah, I agree 100%. I would love to have Richard Wolff on the show, actually.
That's been on the list for a long time.
Well, you know, it's funny. We might cover this on Tuesday. I saw this video going around, and it was shared by some of like the more conservative accounts about this guy. I think the heading of the video was something like how to unplug from the matrix, and this guy is saying about how we just have to withdraw from the system, don't go to work, take your money out of banks. And it's funny because it was sort of this like kind of conspiratorial sort of right-wing framing of it. But what the guy is actually describing is a general strike. Now, conservatives probably are a little bit cautious to use that language, but that's basically what the guy was calling for, was a general strike. And going forward, I'm convinced like that is a necessary first action. There has to be a general strike.
I agree.
Has to be.
Yes.
There's no way around it.
Well, you need the labor organization. You know, somebody, dear friend of mine I've known since I'm a teenager, responded to one of my posts asking me, well, so what do you suggest? What do you... And hey, man, this whole like Trump or Kamala, we're so past that. All you can do is try to organize labor power and grassroots power. And do I think that's gonna work before the system collapses? No. But if you have that in place when it does collapse, you're going to have something to respond to. I am telling you, the right wing is way out ahead on formulating a response to systemic collapse than the left is. They are much further along in theorizing how to take control in a situation like that.
Yes, indeed. Michael Castillo, another $100. Here's money on your books. Thank you. Wow, that's very kind of you. Appreciate that. Thank you,
Michael man.
Castillo.
Now I can get a kayak with a nice Palantir kind of kayak.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yes.
Some drapes on it.
Yeah. Charles Gracia, or the Rock versus Hulk Hogan running mate idea, earned your show a belly laugh and $5. Keaton's House of Ideas. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate that. Good point, Charles. Look at this. 3634 over on Rumble, 3109 YouTube and Twitter. That's good for... Look at
I gotta look up the name of that guy so I can give him credit. What a fan made that.
Yeah, that was awesome. You see, there's the extra here. Folks, listen one more time. It's 6666. They added the extra one in. It's a little Easter egg if you listen carefully, right? Zach Boyles, I'm working on nonprofit to hopefully alleviate some disconnect between voters and their representatives, plus main job. Time comes, I'll share on Patreon. Sure, yes, we would love to hear more about that, Zach. Thank you very much for that. In true shit-lib fashion, my boomer shit-lib family will talk about the genocide in Gaza and then in the same breath shill for Biden. It's a wacky, fucked up world these people live in. Yes. No doubt about that. After the acceleration attempt, says Sparky, there's an acceleration of the Can't Beat 'em join. Oh, assassination attempt. See, that was another situation where my what do I call it? My eyes were ahead of my mouth because he uses acceleration after of the can't beat 'em, join 'em dynamic. I hope Trump realizes he hasn't won them over there as evil influencers. Thank you, Sparky. Angry Cabbage. Weird how nobody seems to remember Biden being an embarrassment to Obama, gaffing every other week. Yeah, he's always been an oaf. He's always been that guy.
He just freaking last week did. He hasn't done one of these in a while. You know what a black job is, vice president.
Vice President of the United States. That was his last one. Went out on the. What did I say when we did that? I said this could be the last one. This could be the last Biden gaffe that we talk about. He's going to issue a statement this week, so I'm sure we'll cover that, and then that'll be it. Off into the sunset he goes. Sparky, thanks for the $10. If it makes you feel any
Joe,
better,
we hardly knew you.
We hardly knew you. About J.D. Vance, remember, he's not a hillbilly like Jed Clampett, since Jed's from the Ozark Mountains. J.D.'s from the Appalachians, like in Deliverance. Yeah, that is reassuring.
Sweet.
Thank you. Yes. Thank God for you two, says Freebie for Life. Thank you, Freebie. Thank God for you two. I listened to MSNBC out of curiosity today, stunningly out of touch. I agree about Russell's laugh. It will be very satisfying to be the one who drew that out of him. Well, there you go. I watched a little MSN. I was just watching for breaking news. I only watched very little, and then I got most of the stuff online. Let's see. Miserable Lib from Texas, when my normie Lib mother, a black woman herself, makes a spoiled milk face about the prospect of Kamala's candidacy as DOA. I would be very interested to see her numbers amongst black voters, because they were very weak the first time when she ran in 2020. Does this improve the Democrats' standing with black voters against Trump versus Biden? That's a question mark. That's a question mark. We're
It's a
have to wait
big
and
question mark. She's not popular in that community.
Yeah, she's not popular.
She's a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala the cop.
Now Biden was
They
extremely
know what
unpopular.
she did.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. Let's see. His Highness, boys, we have a request from a very special viewer, TUS again. Was wondering if you could default the Rumble link in your notification emails for streams instead of East Berlin Tube. I think we could list both. I mean, that's what we'll probably do. But
we don't list both?
We can do that. Yeah, we don't list both in the notifications.
I thought we do list both.
I list both on Twitter, but I can do both in all the notifications. That's easily done. Just to reiterate, break it off in BlackRock, make Ukraine Russia again. Sparky hitting us with duplicates, multiples. I haven't seen an IQ level in the ruling class this low since syphilis was a thing, says Seb Griffiths. Thank you, Seb Griffiths. Appreciate that. I bet a buddy 2 years ago that Joe wouldn't be on the ballot. I asked him when I was getting my money. Silence. There you go. Love you guys. Please considering adding more shows a week. Well, we switched to 3 because my baby's coming. And we are doing interviews in addition to the 3 streams. So that's pretty good calendar for now.
It's better for us to have more time to do better content than to do more shows.
Yeah, and the interview is like the 4th show.
That
it's just
is
a different
the 4th
format.
stream. Yes.
All right. Let's go to some news that was huge news toward the end of the week and over the weekend until, obviously, Biden dropped out of the race. But this was big news over the weekend. Russell, you put this together. You want to take this one?
Yeah. So, finally, Skynet made its move against the human race.
Yes.
But we managed to regain control of the systems this time, but it's learning. Microsoft and CrowdStrike outage disrupts travel and business worldwide. A defective update to an obscure piece of security software knocked out computer systems around the globe Friday, causing widespread disruptions to travel, medical care, and businesses of all stripes, while revealing in stunning fashion the fragility of a world economy built on shared technology. Putin!
Yeah.
Airline passengers were stranded at airports as thousands of flights were canceled. Hospitals closed their doors to patients expecting routine appointments. Shoppers encountered self-checkout terminals showing the notorious blue screen of death that pops up when Windows fails. Even the organizers of the upcoming Paris Olympics reported impacts to the delivery of uniforms. The problem traced to an update issued for Windows computers by security firm CrowdStrike. Now, this isn't mentioned in any of these reportings, and I'm sure most of you folks know, but CrowdStrike are the people who were assigned to investigate the DNC leak that claimed it was Russian hackers without ever offering any evidence of that and refusing to give these servers to the FBI. CrowdStrike was brought in instead of the FBI. So these are the folks we're talking about, the very honest folks we're talking about. The company said at 6 a.m. Friday, the problem had been identified and fixed, but by that point, the effects had rippled around the world. The company's problems follow a string of computer security incidents and service outages in recent years that have disrupted online services. Bruce Schneier, a security technologist who teaches at the Harvard Kennedy School, said the latest problem shows how brittle parts of the online world have become as companies have chased efficiency while sacrificing resiliency. Quote, "This is one of hundreds of companies you've never heard of that are essential to the functioning internet." He compared the situation to a house built in such a way that nailing a picture to the wall puts it at risk of collapsing. CrowdStrike software is widely used around the world by businesses seeking to defend themselves from hackers. The problems Friday affected only computers running Microsoft's Windows operating system, CrowdStrike said, leaving Apple computers and those using Linux unaffected. Good news for Apple. That's good advertising for them.
Yeah, I had no problem. I had no problems.
I mean, nothing happened to mine, but while Windows is the operating system for hundreds of millions of personal PCs, it also runs on the computers behind the scenes that are vital to the operation of airlines, digital payment systems, emergency services call centers, and other organizations. CrowdStrike said in the blog post that the faulty file implicated in the more widespread outages had a timestamp equivalent to 12:09 a.m. Eastern Time Friday. An unrelated Microsoft outage Thursday also caused problems. Some of the most visible early effects of the outage were at the airlines. Budget U.S. carriers Frontier and Sun Country disclosed in the early hours of Friday that they were experiencing disruptions, and the problem spread to major airlines and affected airlines overseas. By 6:30 p.m., more than 4,400 flights had been canceled worldwide. Of that, more than 2,700 were flights operating into, within, or out of the United States, according to FlightAware.com, an online flight tracking website. More than 40,000 flights were delayed worldwide, with delays affecting more than 10,000 flights originating or ending in the United States. United Airlines said the outage impacted several key systems, those used for checking in customers, calculating aircraft weight, and operating call centers. In the United States alone, the impacts were similar to what might be expected during a major snowstorm. And even as airlines reported getting operations back up and running Friday morning, problems in the aviation system can take hours to fully resolve as crews and aircraft are left in the wrong cities. By Friday morning, it had become clear that the effects were reaching a large number of industries and affecting government agencies. The effects on medical providers stretched from the United States to Israel, with doctors losing access to electronic medical records and some hospitals postponing elective procedures. Now, it's interesting, this article really focused on what can happen when you have these small companies behind the scenes and something goes wrong. But we're going to look at a USA article, which I think had a much better take on this. The Washington Post's coverage of what the effects were was better. But USA Today really points out that 50% of Fortune 500 companies are using CrowdStrike. Now, you know what I would like to see? Given that CrowdStrike, in our opinion, we can't prove this, covered up the DNC leak on behalf of the DNC and the Clinton campaign. I would like to know how big this company was 8 years ago and how much doing that service supercharged their business. I would really like to see numbers on that. So do we want to show that video?
We could do it. We could do it after. We can go with this for now.
All right, so painful wake-up call. What's next for CrowdStrike Microsoft after update causes outage? So just a little bit from this article. CrowdStrike is advertised as being used by more than half of Fortune 500 companies. Meanwhile, Microsoft's Windows is one of the most popular operating systems in the world, and the company provides an estimated 85% of the productivity software used by the federal government, according to statements from Representative Benny Thompson during last month's House Committee on Homeland Security. Quote, "The issue we're dealing with is that the world is complex and interdependent, and the fact is that the technology that we use is global," said Scott White, an associate professor and director of the cybersecurity program and cyber academy at George Washington University in Washington. "We've become dependent on organizations like Microsoft. CrowdStrike and Microsoft business clients may consider alternate vendors after the global outage, but that's no solution to the crux of the issue," said Javad Abed, an expert in cybersecurity and data vulnerability and assistant professor at the Carey Business School at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. Quote, "The CrowdStrike incident is a stark reminder that relying on a single cybersecurity tool, regardless of a vendor's reputation, creates a dangerous single point of failure," Abed said. "And implementing multiple layers with multiple vendors is crucial for business continuity and protecting critical operations," unquote. "This sort of outage can happen to any vendor or company," Abed said, "but it is largely preventable, and one of the fundamental principles of cybersecurity is redundancy." So there was a little more in this article about how the government has looked at possibly funding businesses to build redundancy systems, which would be prohibitively expensive for businesses to fund on their own to build the kinds of backups that would really guarantee something like this would not happen. But I think the most interesting observation they're making there is, well, of course, if 50% of the Fortune 500 company are relying on one software system, yeah, the whole world technology, the whole world interconnectedness is threatened by not only something like this, where this was their screw up, but
it was just an update, just a bug in an update.
It was just an update. So what about a virus?
Right.
What about a virus? Because you only have to figure out a virus that hits that one system. You don't have to negotiate a bunch of different softwares.
Exactly.
So just the whole way that's set up is foolish.
Exactly. And they should be able to fail-safe these systems better than this. And as you can see here, just that they're implementing multiple layers with multiple vendors, crucial for business continuity and protecting critical operations. Obviously, yes. I mean, it should not take a geek or an expert to know that. That's the most obvious thing in the world. But here is founder and CEO of CrowdStrike, George Kurtz, going on to try and explain this on NBC.
Joined by the founder and CEO of CrowdStrike, George Kurtz. George, it's good to see a lot of people woke up. They saw that blue screen of death. We've been hearing all about the messes at the airports.
I don't know nothing about that blue screen of death. A lot of broadcast channels, Australia, even ours here. We had those blue screens everywhere. People are wondering what happened. So what did happen?
Yeah, so first, thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat with you first on air.
There's the blue screen of death you see on the billboard.
Oh,
Macy's.
wow, even on Macy's?
Yeah. Oh, it couldn't load correctly. The blue screen of death everywhere. Hey, I'm a Mac user. I don't know anything about that. I left that world behind years ago. Been a Mac man for a long time now, so I was not familiar with this. Apparently, this is a cliche thing. This is like the wheel. We call this in Mac world the wheel of death, the rainbow colored wheel that spins around when when your system freezes, which is very rare since these Macs are superior operating systems. But that's the blue screen on the Macy's billboard. Look at that.
And I want to start with saying we're deeply sorry for the impact that we've caused to customers, to travelers, to anyone affected by this, including our company.
Nurses, doctors. Imagine working in a hospital and you turn on the fucking screen and you see that. Oh my God! I mean, it's not funny. I mean, people could have died. Right? You know, medical records lost. Who knows what could have happened? Yeah, but that is something. Wow.
We know what the issue
Sorry,
is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you look at this, it's just incredible how vulnerable all of these systems are to just one attack. Like, this wasn't an attack, but what does it suggest about the vulnerability of all? And they talk so much about cybersecurity and foreign actors. I mean, look at this system. It's like held together with spit and baling wire.
Yeah, and this guy looks like he's about to have a nervous breakdown on the air here.
To customers, to travelers, to anyone affected by this, including our companies. So we know what the issue is. We're resolving and have resolved the issue now. It's recovering systems that are out there. And essentially, as you've talked about in the statement I put out, is the system was sent an update, and that update had a software bug in it and caused an issue with the Microsoft operating system. And we identified this very quickly and remediated the issue. And as systems come back online, as they're rebooted, they're coming up and they're working. And now we are working with each and every customer to make sure that we can bring them back online. But that was the extent of the issue in terms of a bug that was related to our update.
Mr. Kurtz, it's Savannah here in Milwaukee. I mean, you're in the cybersecurity business, and I certainly don't even pretend to understand this, but according to your statement, it was a single content update that has managed to shut down air travel, credit card payment systems, banks, broadcasts, street lights, 911, emergency around the globe. Why is there not some kind of redundancy or some sort of backup? How is it that one single software bug can have such a profound and immediate impact?
Well, when you look at the complexity of cybersecurity, you're always trying to stay one step ahead of the adversaries. Excuse me.
Oh, they got a defibrillator over there.
Oh yeah, take a drink of water.
Yeah, sorry.
Sure, it's been a long night.
We're always trying. It's been a long night. We're always trying to stay one step ahead of the adversaries. And in this particular case, our systems are always looking for the latest attacks from these adversaries that are out there. So this content update went out, and as it does, and it's been doing for many, many years, obviously we've got a robust team that's looking at the safety and security and the quality of these updates. And we have to go back and see what happened here. But if there's a negative interaction with the way some of these operating systems work, in this particular case, it was only the Microsoft operating system that was impacted, you'll see a reaction like this. And this is, what we've seen here.
All right, I mean, we don't have to watch the rest of that. You're being bullshitted when they use the word robust. Robust is a word. When they say robust, that means, you're being sold a line of shit. These stories never surprise me as much as they surprise some people. Because I'm an Uber driver and because I drove for DoorDash all these years, and that gave me a very good understanding of how tech works. These tech people, these big tech people like this George Kurtz, they're not normal. I'm sorry. Like they're not wired like the rest of us. These are people who just don't feel any particular obligation to humanity. They don't feel any responsibility to the society that they're in. Oh, the system went down. Yeah, it was a bug. Oh, the hospitals lost medical records. Oh, sorry about that. We'll fix it. I mean, that's it. That's it. That's the way. Oh, yeah. No, there's no redundancy. If it fails, things will fuck up. Sorry, Elon. Sorry, Mark Zuckerberg. Sorry. Move fast, break things. Take the money in as fast as we can. Shit happens along the way. We'll deal with it. If it fucks people up, we'll deal with it. Keep moving forward. Keep taking it in. That is the ethos. It's not normal. It's really not normal.
I think it's also just a symptom of crony capitalism. because they're not subject to consequences. I mean, look at what we're saying about CrowdStrike. You know, I strongly suspect they're as big as they are now because they did a very special service for the Clintons and the DNC.
Right.
So they don't have to be good. You just have to
Right.
be connected.
Yeah.
And I think we see that all through the economy.
Yeah. Who you know.
Yep.
Diogenes the dog.
Yo.
Is that right? How long does Biden survive? Yeah, once he's off his presidential drug supplement regimen. Also, why do you think Kamala's willing to take over the top of the ticket against what looks to be an unbeatable Trump? Well, it's her only chance at the nomination. I mean,
Right.
what's she going to do?
She could
win
never
it?
get it on merit.
Yeah, what's she going to do? Win it on her own? I mean, she can't. So this is like, hey, I'll take a shot. That's why, like,
Sure.
if they
She's got
really
nothing
wanted
to
to
lose.
win, pick some no-name who's never going to win on the merits and be like, hey, you're a generic young Democrat who's not 1 foot in the grave and not already despised. You're the best we got. Go ahead. Give it a shot. Like, I think that would be the best move. But thank you for that generous donation. It's very kind of you. Y'all are the soundtrack to my morning commute and Calvinist office grind. Thanks for the relief and info-rich news updates. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
That. Good to know. Do you know all this talk of self-harmala running the show? Who do you think she will pick as a VP? She's talking about Mark Kelly from Arizona, Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania. You know, I mean, picking a normie from a swing state is probably the best plan, the best play. But the electoral map is now spread so thin for the Democrats, it's just hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine how they catch up. I mean, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona look lost. That 5th district in Nebraska looks bad. If the Democrats lose there, Trump doesn't even need to win the Rust Belt. He's leading in every state in the Rust Belt. You know, if he wins one of those states, he'll win, assuming those other ones that I just mentioned go his way. If those don't go his way, he's running even in Virginia. He's running even in Minnesota. He's running even in New Hampshire. One of those go his way, he wins. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you need this. You're looking at an inside straight that no one's ever pulled off before, and you have an extraordinarily weak candidate who's tasked with pulling
you don't
it
think
off.
Kamala can turn all that around?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
really?
You're just talking about an almost impossible hand to begin with, and you don't have a good candidate to do it with. So
Donald Trump, he is a man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's a man we all know.
We all know.
He was president. He wants to be president again.
Yeah. What do we have to say about that? Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's her campaign speech. That's her convention
That's what
speech.
I'm saying. It's bad for the country. It's great for us.
Gotta watch Saul Williams' flick Neptune Frost, folks. Unanimous Goldmine. That's his new film, right? Isn't that his new one that he has out? I think that's on his bio page. Thank you, Zach Bird. Appreciate that. He toured with 9 Inch Nails. He did some collaborations with them before. But yeah, a Newberg guy. Make sure to be prepared for the July 24th event for Palestine. Russ and Vega, please stay safe while you're there. I have a gut feeling it might get chaotic.
Yeah. So about that. Keaton has a baby coming. There's a lot. Yeah, I can't go. This was not the week for it.
Yeah. So Jose, if you want to be our correspondent, maybe we can do something with you down there. Film some footage and send it to us. Yeah. Yeah, because the baby might come that day, and then
the baby could literally come that day, and I have to do the show in the morning.
Right. Yeah. That is
It's
certainly
like
possible.
the worst week for it.
Yeah, they should have checked with us really before they booked
They
him.
should have. They should have. We should have reached out to our contacts in the Mossad.
Exactly. Janice Wolfgang, thanks for the $2. I think that is Where the Peace. And yeah, Jake sent us it. Wherethepeace.com. Where the Peace. WEAR. Wherethepeace.com.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Sounds like Benjamin Netanyahu arguing that Native Americans have a legal right and responsibility to purge USA of everyone not Native American. No. Thank you, Philip.
Like they give a shit.
Like they give a shit. You see him. Thank you for the $10. Appreciate that. Great job. Keep honest. Free Gaza, y'all. Thank you, Best Boomer Vita. Appreciate that. Appreciate those generous donations tonight. Can we please make Netanyahu feel welcome next week? Well, the name of that protest is Arrest Netanyahu. Arrest Netanyahu. And look, Jose's here. Jeeves is asking about that book. He didn't give him the book. Did he give you the book?
Yeah, it's like back here. Yeah. Because you know what I have? Lots of fucking time to read that. Oodles of it. Oodles and oodles of it.
I didn't think he gave it to you.
Yeah, no. He finally gave it to me after asking him 10 times. Hey, you want to give me the book?
It's like Seinfeld. Take
Instead
the
of trying
pen.
to explain it to me while I'm trying to get into an Uber.
Yeah. Don't forget to download.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you tell Jeeves, you would be like, by the time I would get to that, on top of, I have to go through books for interviews and everything. You're probably looking at like 6 months to a year. So that's the honest to God truth about when I'll get to that. So if he wants it back, he can have it back. But literally, we've got guests lined up with books and memoirs, and unlike a lot of hosts, the kinds who don't show up when they're supposed to, I actually read the stuff that the people we're interviewing, right? So that's the priority.
There you go. Kinky, don't forget to download the No Thanks app to scan barcodes, ensuring you're not unknowingly buying products associated with Israel. That's right. Thanks, Kinky. Then Vinetulazboom. I don't know what that one is. Here's another 200 pennies. Enjoy. Thank you very much. Ian DeMartino, odds that Biden forget he dropped out during a public appearance before November. Yeah, that'd be funny. He forgets that he drops out. Biden is too old to run again, but competent to finish his term. Are we settling again? Well, that's obviously the contradiction hidden in plain sight, right? Okay. Ian DeMartino, Obama endorsing Romney would be too funny, though. Worth it for that. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's go here. Paul Chu, hopefully he still gives us a few gaffes on his way out the door. Thank you for that, Paul Chu. Let's see.
I'm sure he won't disappoint. Although now that the cat's out of the bag, they might try to just really keep him under wraps.
Yeah, right. That could be. If Kamala were a white Republican with her attorney general and criminal justice record, liberals would be at her throat.
Oh,
yep,
they sure would. Of course they would. It's always like that. What do you think they would do with a guy who bragged about his work on mass incarceration with segregationists?
Right.
As long as you got a D next to your name, they want to make you the fucking president. If you had an R next to your name, you'd be the most racist person since Hitler. You'd be Hitler, right? Instead of Donald Trump.
Right.
Who's more Hitler? Who's more Hitler? The guy who wrote the crime bill with a Klansman, or Donald Trump? You tell me.
SB, you overestimate the right. They're not the only ones into guns and outdoors, just the loudest. Most tough guy right-wingers are objectively all talk. Yeah, the F-150 cowboys, as Russell calls them. I work in a hospital, and what a shit show it was. Oh, really? So you fell victim to that outage. Wow. Well, I hope everyone was all right. Thanks to Progressive Lefty. Appreciate that. In 2010, McAfee had a colossal glitch with Windows XP that took down a good part of the internet. McAfee's CTO at that time is now the CEO of CrowdStrike. Wow. Interesting.
Interesting.
Thank you, Movie Magus, too.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying. Right? So why is that guy in that position now? Because he's connected.
Exactly.
There are no consequences for failure. That's why they're so incompetent.
Exactly. Sparky, CrowdStrike staying ahead of the adversaries is getting ahead of itself. Thank you, Sparky. Appreciate that. Philip Blair, USSR stereotype equals USA reality. Propaganda boomerang. Ron McKinnon, thanks for the $5. Trump on the debate stage with Kamala. I have no idea what she's laughing about, and I doubt she does either. Yeah. I mean, like Russell said, when she's on message, she can be like, I don't think you're going to have a laughing fit on the debate stage. Probably not. Did she do a laughing fit with Mike Pence? I don't think so. I don't remember.
When she's scripted, she can deliver her lines like an actress.
Right.
When she's unscripted, the howling void at the center of her being becomes quite evident.
Yes. All right, let's do one more segment, and then we are going to Rumble for the Q&A. So if you want to head over there, dudissidents.com/Rumble, that link in your URL will take you to this live stream over on Rumble. So we are doing one last segment, and then that's it for the show. We will continue the after party over there, dudissidents.com/Rumble. But we do have one more segment on the Knights, and this is a fun one. Yeah. This is a fun one. Go ahead.
Where is it?
Right here.
All right. So, did gay dating app Grindr crash during the RNC in Milwaukee? Been a lot of rumors to that effect. Supposedly it crashed right when little Marco showed up.
Yeah. I was going to say, Mike Pence wasn't even in town for this.
He wasn't even in town for this. Yeah. Our hookups, however, in Indiana, usage was off the hook.
Yeah.
Our hookups on the rise during the Republican National Convention this week. According to Google search trends, that has been one of the hot topics on people's minds in Milwaukee, particularly regarding gay dating app Grindr, which has seen a flood of unconfirmed reports that it's continually crashing during the convention. But what's really happening on Grindr this week? One user in Milwaukee said there has been a major bump in anonymous users.
Oh, interesting.
Quote, on any given day, you'll go on there and see a headless torso or blank profile, said the source, who did not want to be named. He explained that profile typically means a user is looking for a fling and not a relationship. The Grindr user said on a normal day, you'd encounter maybe 10 users with no profile photo. But Thursday, when he checked the app, he said he stopped counting at 50 blank profile photos. If that's the case, it aligns with Grindr activity during previous national conventions.
Do you see a lot of Richard Nixon tattoos on those torsos? Yeah. That would be another hint.
A lot of iron crosses.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah.
After the 2016 RNC in Cleveland, a Vice article that cited sources from Grindr said the area around the 2016 convention's main hub saw user traffic increase by 66%. Other Grindr hotspots like Times Square, Capitol Hill, Disneyland, and South Beach, Florida, saw no comparable increase in user traffic at the time, the article said. Democrats flocked to the app during their convention, too. The same article said Grindr reported 148% increase in activity around Philadelphia's Wells Fargo Arena during the week of the 2016 DNC. All right, so still gayer. The Democrats, 150% gayer.
Yeah.
Grindr did not immediately respond to a request for comment about an increase in usage or reported outages during the 2024 RNC. And according to status.grindr.com, no operational incidents have been recorded by Grindr since May, when partial outages for the grid, chat, and albums features were noted. In June and July, all Grindr features were 100% operational, according to the app's official status tracker.
Look at that. Better than CrowdStrike.
Better than CrowdStrike. Yeah, man. I mean, people got to get their sex on. But that's not stopping users from taking the matter into their own hands. Reports of the Grindr app crashing increased by more than 90% in the past 48 hours across the country, according to Down Detector, a digital platform that tracks service issues among apps. Down Detector's heat map shows where the Grindr outages are taking place. Milwaukee is one of a few hotspots for outages, according to the website. Those reports may have spawned from a recent post from @HalfwayPost, a political satire account on X, formerly known as Twitter. The post claimed to quote a Grindr executive who allegedly said that the Republican National Convention is basically Grindr's Super Bowl. As of Thursday morning, the post has nearly 50 million views. All right, so friend of show George Santos weighed in on this.
Yes.
As a gay Republican, you can see he's saying, "Come out the closet, boys." So he also had a little accompanying video.
Grindr executives are calling the RNC convention the Grindr Super Bowl. Folks, look, I'm openly gay, no qualms about it, proud conservative Republican. I met my husband on Grindr, and we've been together for 6 years going on 7, married for almost 3. Let me tell you something. Just come out the closet, boys. Come on. It's fun. You can be gay and conservative. But look, Grindr's already outing you anyway based on the hits. And guess who's in town? It's all you conservatives. Bye.
I'll tell you, that guy's terrific. That guy's the man. I love that guy. He's my favorite one. He's my favorite congressman, honestly. I mean, he's not a congressman anymore. But I love that approach to like, hey, this is a failing country. It's a dying empire. Why don't I just lie my way into Congress with the most debunkable bullshit biography I can imagine? Just see how far I get before they catch me. Who cares? It's all a big fucking joke anyway. And it is. The country's a big fucking joke anyway. So why not? Why not do what he did? I think it took balls. I think it's really funny. I think it's wonderful. He's honestly one of my favorite ones.
Well, you know, when I was at Braga, he's been hired by one of the lesser light conservative networks. What are they called? OAN, I think he might have been working for. I don't know that that's
the one, but it would make sense.
He was working for one of them. And you can see in my footage, you have all these people who are treating him like a hero. And that's where that whole thing goes off the rails. I appreciate your take, but that's not their take. Their take is those bastards in Washington railroaded you out of Washington. Come on, man. This guy's he's the old John Lovitz character. That's the ticket. Yeah, and then I was a track star. Yeah, and I was also a marksman, and I was a Green Beret too. And I also solved fission, but they won't let me release it. Yeah. How do you make I can understand your take, but how is your take? God, George Santos is a patriot.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. No, what he is he's a prankster. And a joker with, I think, a very original. That is a unique foray into the politics of a dying empire. It's just this guy who's going to come in and just literally bullshit for as long as people don't catch on to him. You know, like there's something so fun about it. I don't know. Like, are his I mean, I think Jose Vega even said this to Richie Torres. You know, you call George Santos a liar, but you know what lie is of more consequence? George Santos making up this weird biography, or Richie Torres pretending that Russia blew up the Nord Stream pipeline? Like, is George Santos a more malicious liar than all of these people? No, in fact, he's probably much less a malicious liar than most people on Capitol Hill.
Well, hey, man, the fact that he's been able to maintain what at least based on his account, is a healthy relationship and marriage, suggests he's not a psychopath.
Yeah. No, he's a happy man.
Happy-go-lucky con man.
God bless him. God bless George Santos, and God bless everyone at the RNC for being who they are. And like George Santos said, let your freak flag
for
fly.
Secretary of the Treasury.
Yes, be happy. Be out and be happy. That's what we say. Sparky, by definition, nerds aren't good at social things, so why should they be the people who run the world? Good idea. Good call, Sparky. Tried we the weather, neither worked. Okay, so it's where, WEAR, the peace. Jay, can you make us up a little banner that just says where the peace, please? And we'll put that up before we go to Rumble here. Where the peace, or run society. Thank you, Sparky. The Secret Service did a beautiful job. Thank you, Byron Edwards. Appreciate that. John R. for the Save Keaton from DoorDash and Uber Fund. Thank you, John R. Appreciate that. How many Grindr users, says Virtuoso, does it take to build a log cabin? There you go. It's wherethepeace.com. That's it. Thank you, Virtuoso. Appreciate that. 007 Angelo, for an example what 4 years of Kamala speeches would look like, just loop the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz, LMAO. Thank you, 007 Angelo. Appreciate that. We appreciate all of you being here tonight. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We have 2703 on YouTube and Twitter, 3629 over on Rumble. We are about to head over there for the Q&A, but that is all for our show this evening. So we thank you all very, very much for being here. We will see you back here Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's right, our Tuesday matinee. Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's when we will be live on this channel. Again, both YouTube and Rumble. Right now, we're going to close the lights on the show, but we're going to take a 5-minute break before continuing the party on Rumble. That is when our Q&A will begin. So we see some of you guys lining up for the Q&A. Now, if you would like to call in, if you're a Patreon member, a paid Substack subscriber, or a paid Locals member, phone lines are open. Everybody else is welcome to watch over at newdissidents.com/Rumble. And when you get there, if you're there right now, please, please, please hit that follow button over on Rumble. Very, very important that you do that. We will see everybody there in 5 minutes. If you're peacing out for the nights, we will see you on Tuesday. If you're joining for the Q&A, we'll see you in 5 minutes. Until whenever we see you again, thank you for tonight. Be safe and be well.
Courage.
Please clap.